I'm Melissa, and this is Ryan, and this is the Betrayal Body. This is episode 5, and we're going to get more deeply into specifics of like our individual stories. And so today we're going to focus on Ryan's story because Ryan's actually the one that came to me with the idea of the podcast, and he had a kind of a vision of what he wanted it to be. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm on board, man. That sounds freaking awesome. Um, and he titled it The Betrayal Body for a variety of reasons, but I'll kind of let him go into it. And then basically, we're going to spend this episode, talking about Ryan's experiences in the systems that have been strategically designed to disempower us and keep us small and keep us from waking up, basically, enslave us in humanity. So I'll hand it over to you, Ryan, so you can kind of just help people understand like why the betrayal body, like why that name.
So when I came to Melissa, it I had the vision I had was everything that we're doing as adults in this life, we have so much programming that we're passing down to our children. And it starts with us correcting that issue so we can correct it. It's easier to correct it at a child's level than it is as an adult level. So that's kind of why we spent the last 4 episodes kind of paving the way to where we're at now. So we can speak on it a little deeper if we correct, because children, we lose the sight of what it was like to be a child, the freedom of thought and imagination, and we spend so much time wanting to mold our children into our false programming. We perpetuate the cycle. And you know through my time and experience, I was so focused on all of the issues that were happening to me, and I got caught up in the anxiety and stress and depression, and I started noticing all of those manifest physically. Like, I had so much going on and I was getting attacked from so many angles, and my body just started failing me. And I had to really sit down and ask myself, is my body failing me or am I failing my body? Betrayal body came to me because betrayal trauma is some of the most damaging. It in my experience, it has been the single most damaging form of trauma I've experienced. I've, talked about
Hmm.
my military experience some. I've talked about other experiences some. What's landed the hardest is betrayal, and that's the systems that were designed to protect children. Countless times I put my faith into these systems just to be betrayed. And, you know, fool me once, shame on me, fool me 15 times, oh shit, I'm doing something entirely wrong. And I need to course correct for not just myself, but for my daughter, because everything I did would either make things worse and amplify a situation, and it would start showing up in her. And, you know, how do I make myself better where she doesn't have to experience all the pain and frustration that I've had to? That's kind of been my whole journey in awakening. She's been my catalyst for so much of this. And my goal is to let her have as free of a childhood as she possibly can, to explore and make mistakes and have feelings and not be put in any sort of a box,
Hmm.
because that's how we collectively heal. And if we can have our children, let them have the freedom to do that and grow up,
Mhm.
how, and gradually awaken, then that's creating the 5D universe right there, or 5D Earth right there. And
That
it
honestly
starts
is,
with
like,
them.
very absolutely, like, your words when you talk about her, um, you were doing I started just getting teary-eyed just now, and I'm like, "Mm," because what you're saying is, like I'll say, like, probably what every little girl would love her daughter or her dad to say, but also just every child, to be honest, and not just dad, but both parents, or all the caretakers in their life, to view them like that. And the word you used specifically was freedom, and that is how you show love. That is love, freedom, freedom of expression without limitations, as much as we possibly can in this place, you know?
Yeah.
But we have a lot of, say and power over that for them. It's, like, such an enormous responsibility, but it's actually a very simple responsibility as well, and we
Yeah.
overcomplicate it, like what you're saying, with burdening them with our stuff because we are unhealed, and we're unintentionally passing that down to them through how we're trying to protect them is from our unhealed places, and perpetuating this vicious cycle. So it's really beautiful how she's your catalyst and to your healing, to your awakening. It's like such an amazing kind of anchor and thing that you're following your little white rabbit. So like keep going. That's awesome.
Take a breath. It's heavy stuff, and I wouldn't wish my experience on my worst enemy with all of this. And there have been so many nights where I've had to sit, just regret and remorse for a life that I haven't been able to allow her to have. I've tried everything in my power, and I've had to start accepting the fact that those cards are off the table at this point due to all the damage she's experienced. Her chances of having a normal life are out the window, but that allows for so much perspective for her to gain. And instead of keeping her away from it, I'm honest with her. You know, I'll tell her, baby, this is a shit raw deal. Like, but I'm here and we're going to get through it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to make these lemons into lemonade somehow. And, I have to be a rock. I used to drink a lot more. I've stopped. I'll drink on holidays and, God bless my mom, but, a couple glasses of wine at a family event, it helps. But, um, you know,
Fair.
um,
Yeah.
and that's she's been amazing in this process, and I wouldn't have gotten through it without her. Her and I have our issues, but I understand the fact that if
Oh,
I
you and
wouldn't
your
have
mom?
had, yeah, if I wouldn't have had her, I wouldn't have sole custody of Reagan right now. And it's been more arduous and difficult. And I would rather go back to Afghanistan on a repeating every other year basis than have to spend 2 months fighting the battle I have,
Yeah,
stateside for her. And
I believe that.
it's it started almost immediately. And we've kind of touched on what happens in utero and even before, like that's where transgenerational trauma or generational trauma starts coming into play. What we hold in our bodies at the point of conception and during what's the word, incubation, carrying,
I guess so. Yeah.
baking,
Yeah, when you're baking.
um all of that stuff are passes along to our children. And not just that, if you're feeling stressed or anxious and you're breastfeeding, that passes just like alcohol, just like
Yep.
Tylenol,
It's
just
like
like all of these
what
drugs.
passes? You've done so
Yeah.
much research on this and like what is passing? Say like for example through breast milk. If a mom is stressed, like what is she actually passing? She's not passing like I mean is it she's
Cortisol,
passing yeah, chemicals.
chemicals,
Yep.
and all your body creates to every every stimuli through epigenetics, your body creates chemicals, and it dumps chemicals based on what our brains are. Literal supercomputers that read everything around us at any given point in time and respond accordingly. And it's a back end process, one that we're not even aware of. It just does it. And, you know, when we start looking at it that perspective, I saw a video where, it was a wondering um, doc- doctor, um, healer from 1850 writing notes in his book, you know,
Mhm.
talking about if a mother has has there was a more creative 1850s word and probably a little more sexist, like, but the message is just as honest. If the mother is having an episode, don't let her breastfeed the child. Either get
Yeah.
milk of goat and like
Yeah.
and let her go
Yeah,
express and dump and
right.
take a breath and come
I think they
back.
used to like just pass the baby around because like all the
Yeah,
women are
wet
like
nurses.
lactating. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's meant to we're meant to live in like the tribe type communities that where we're all supporting each other and the women are like banding together and like helping each other and you're not supposed to raise a child on your own. Like that's not like normal. But they've normalized it and isolated everybody.
well, the phrase is still out there. It takes a community,
Yeah, it takes a tribe or whatever.
but we
Yeah.
forget about that crap, or we don't give it
Well,
the
yeah.
credence that
It's because of shame and guilt.
exactly.
We're
And
scared to ask for help because everyone looks like they're doing it, and then you add social media to the mix, and like everyone has these perfect lives or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah,
and like for instance, I don't, as much as my daughter goes through, I don't shelter her. I let her go. I don't want to, but I understand it's the same thing. Children are sponges, and I want her to experience points of view from everybody, not just mine.
yeah,
Because I mean, I think my point of view is pretty damn good, but that's not
yeah,
the point. My point
yeah,
of view is for me, and I pass along what's useful to
yeah.
her
This is an option.
in the moment. I
Yeah.
don't I don't shower her like, or put a bubble around her. Hey, this is how you will be, and
Hmm.
my word is law. Which you give them guidelines, and if they start getting outside of it, you hey, let's pull on that leash a little bit and get you more in the guardrails. But that's all I try to do. I don't project, and so many people have, and we're trained to project. Like, that's what society wants. They say that's not the
Yeah.
case, but they push us to project on other people.
Yeah.
And so many of the world's problems comes from that alone. People
Yeah. It's
projecting
how
their
we keep
shit.
each other in line. Like it keeps everybody down because the opposite of projection is what? Like I'll let you answer that. What is the opposite of projection? I'm going somewhere with this.
Put me on the spot. Opposite of projection is observation. Or no, that's
It's kind of like what that dude did on TikTok. So, okay, so he was projecting. This was basically like kind of haters on their comments, whatever.
hate,
Totally
hate,
to be
hate, hate.
expected. Um, it's kind of like basically judgment is projection. I would say, also, not viewing anyone through the lens of they're not sovereign, they don't have capacity, they don't have competency, capability, um, there's something wrong with them, or they're somehow you're better, somehow you're beneath, like, it's all projections. We're not equal. Well, that's kinda how I see it, like, um, assuming that we know what's going on in their world. Um, so opposite of that would be freedom. Freely allowing people to have, it's kinda like going back to,
Sovereignty,
like, yeah, sovereignty. And
personal
that's such a hard
sovereignty.
thing to grasp, like, when people don't agree with other people, they have to make it known that they don't agree, and they have to, like, let that person have it, you know, and they try so hard to, like, pull them back into their, perspective, instead of, like, what are you so scared of when someone believes in something different from you? What's so
Yeah,
scary about that? And that's kinda like what we experience with a lot of projections. But it could go on the other end too, where people are projecting and then they're like make themselves very small and don't speak up because they're like, oh no, that's a
they're
scary
projecting on
narcissist or something.
themselves.
Exactly.
Um, like,
But projection, I see it. Sorry, let me finish this thought out.
right?
Think about it like you experienced something in childhood and that it got encoded, programmed in a way that does not serve you. It doesn't align with who you really are. You have just anchored in a false belief about yourself. So the nature is going to clean it up for you. It's going to naturally create situations to put you in so you experience that again, so you can recognize that your beliefs that you're holding, that's informing everything, all your mental filters is now like, so you can say it's actually false. And some people have to go through that like 10, 15 times in their life to actually grasp that. And that's the refining process. But the projection part of it is you're playing out a scene like a play, and you are casting people in roles for you to play so you can relive a trauma. And this is how, like, how did I marry my dad, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, how did that happen? uh, why is my child, you know, such a freaking jerk to me all the time, or something like that? Well, you're likely projecting onto that child something from your childhood that you've not resolved within yourself. And the coolest thing about this is that these projections tend to happen, like, say for children, when your child turns the age of your trauma. That's when the projections will start happening. Whether it's on one of the end of the spectrum is your child is the bad one, or you know, the perpetrator, or
Mhm.
on the other end of the spectrum, your child is the victim and your child is so fragile, and that's where the bubble boy stuff comes in. Um, And both of those extremes is not the solution, guys, because anything coming from trauma, you're going to perpetuate the problem, and that's how self-sabotage happens. But so I'll stop my little thing here because I can keep going for like 5 hours, like because it all connects, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for your where you're going with this is like how you were inspired to do your own trauma work and your awakening stuff, and you're starting in utero with Reagan's life. And how old
Mhm.
is she now?
She's 7.5.
And you've been through a lot with her in a little 7 years,
Oh,
and I don't even know
man.
all of it. Like
No, and
like we said, Ryan and I kind of just met like 2 months ago, so I'm going to be hearing a lot of this for the first time too. And yeah, tell us what you had to go through, and have you told anyone this before?
outside of family, nobody really, and really not even my family has a lot of it. And I want to start by saying I am not in any way, shape, or form perfect. And I was even less so when all of this started. You know, I was very ignorant to trauma, and I'm, th- I would say I was toxic masculine in a way that I wasn't allowing myself to feel. Like, I'm if I go into my feelings too much, I'm weak. And,
Mm. I would view
you
that
know,
as shadow masculine.
yeah, and
Mm.
exactly. It's a
Uh-huh.
number of things, but it's got me stuck in a loop where all of these things were happening and I wasn't taking care of myself, and that was creating more issues, like creating anger and frustration and shame and all of the other negative emotions that were landing and creating a snowball effect that was taking me down a path that would have destroyed me and if I just let it free fall. But I had to take so many hits to finally get it through my thick skull. Like, there is a different approach to
Yeah.
all of this. And, you know, let's be smart. Let's start using our brain and figuring this out. And start to figure this out. So in utero, yeah, there were issues and that's kind of where it started. Ooh, it's like, it's hard to pick a starting point. Like, do I start with the first fight or, you know, and because the
Well,
first,
let's start with your relationship leading up to that.
so, um, I met her mom and online and everything felt so perfect and just there was something in me that said, this is the one. And I like, I attached and I fell quickly. And when you know me enough by now to see when I latch on to something, I give it everything to the detriment of myself many times. And it was the same situation. She asked me, I remember this clearly. She asked me, what is your dream? Like, what do you want to be in this life? And I said, I want to be a dad. And, her response was her ovaries were hurting. And, that was so endearing to me. And I was like, "Oh crap. Did I just find the one find the one?" And we had a couple dates and they were so good and, you know, she liked my music and all of this and would do little little things that I never expected. Especially this was my first true relationship at 27, 28 years old. I didn't want to have a relationship while I was in the army.
You're like the only army dude ever that said that.
Well, it just didn't make sense because it was either, long distance or I don't want to go and deploy and have that weighing on somebody. Like, that's irresponsible. And that was drunk me from, 21-year-old. So kudos,
Dang, man.
like,
Good for you.
thinking ahead. But back,
Yeah.
jumping back to the story, everything was great. And Reagan, from my perspective, from the time, was conceived out of love, and I think that's a very necessary, especially given everything we've talked about. That's very important to note. From my end, it was I was blissfully ignorant, and you know, with
Yeah.
the
You
heart
only you
eyes,
only
and
know what you know. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, from that point, things started to go left, and I didn't
Right away
understand it.
after conception?
Pretty much. And, we went out to celebrate
How long
when
were you
the night
together before?
met 2 days after Thanksgiving, so it would have been like in November 27th, found out that we were expecting early January.
Hey, that's actually how I had my son too.
Yeah,
That quick.
and, like, I was thrilled. I'm like, "Okay, I'm 28. Damn,
Yeah,
I waited
and
a
you're
little
freaking
late."
in love, like, no
Yeah,
brainer. Yeah.
and nothing felt wrong about it until, like, and that's the thing. I will never regret anything that happened or that's I went through subsequently, and I'd do it all over again, fucking 100 times
Yeah.
over, because my light is in the other room right now watching, Avatar Fire and Ash, just like loving life. And, so it started the day after, or, we went out to celebrate, and like I said, I was drinking more, so I wanted to go to a bar and have some drinks, and she obviously didn't drink, which, I appreciated, but I got shithoused. I was excited, and people were buying me drinks and, you know, cutting it up, but I had the next day was a work day.
In true army fashion.
Called in sick. Like,
Nice.
which is not true army fashion. I didn't
That's
run
true.
my
You
four.
would have just shown up freaking hammered if you're still
I,
in.
yeah, I wouldn't have gone to
I've done that.
sleep and just run my 4 miles, like
Yeah.
smelling the liquor.
Puked
Like,
it out as you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
finished and had a cigarette and threw up
Yeah.
some more. Like, but
Yeah. I
no,
didn't have to do
I
PT, so our Air Force.
push around your chairs.
Yeah.
Um,
Type on my computer.
um, no, like I had grown soft in the 4 or 5 years that I had been out, and anybody who was a drinker knows there's phases of hangovers start changing,
Mhm.
and if you're out of practice, oh boy. So what I had asked her, and this is what led to the first fight. I called in sick. I said, please don't post anything on Facebook, or about pictures that you took last night, because I was lying. And the reality is I shouldn't have had to lie. Like, I shouldn't have had to felt the need to lie to my
Yeah.
work. Hey,
Yeah.
I
Sick
found
days
out
are sick days.
yeah, I found out I'm having my first child. I should unapologetically be able to say, "Hey, I don't give a shit about anything that's going on there today. I'm taking a day for myself." But, society doesn't work that way, which, it is what it is. And I shouldn't have lied. I should have just said, "Hey, I'm sorry, not sorry. I got
Uh-huh.
shithoused last night, and I'm
Yeah.
taking a day for me," because I would have been worthless either way. I would have just been wanting to be anyway. So I think she actually texted from my phone saying I had food poisoning, and then proceeded later that day to post the pictures of us out at the bar, which I was friends with my boss, and he saw and brought it to my attention, and the cat got out of the bag that I had lied. And that was on me. But,
Right. Yeah.
I did say, hey, if we're doing this, we're a team, right? Like,
Yeah. There's the trust thing.
and, you know, we had a conversation about this, and I tried to bring it up, hey, I understand that you're excited. I'm excited too, but this put me in a compromising position, because it wasn't about me being out. It was, a matter that I
Mm-hmm.
lied to them. And, I'm not going to throw you under the bus for being a party to it. and sending the text message on my behalf and saying it was food poisoning, that's my lie. So I took it, but I said, "Hey," and when I brought this up, it led to our first fight. And, you know, I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa."
What was the general, like, response to that? That kinda, like, started the fight?
Basically, that her excuse was that she was excited and I should be excited too, and I shouldn't. Yeah, and I was, but it was totally like,
Oh, like, so her reasoning would have been like, "Well, I'm posting our celebratory thing about being pregnant."
yeah.
Gotcha.
And I said, I understand that, but that could have waited a week,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
And
so there was that, like, mismatch of, like, not grasping the gravity or
yeah,
something like that
and
on her end.
yeah, and I said, "Hey," and she had a place and I had a place, and I had been staying at her place this whole time. So I was like, "Hey, I need to go be by myself for a couple of days. This isn't, I just need a breath and I need to
Yeah.
figure out
Well, how
because
intense did it get for your first, like, argument for you to need space like that?
it wasn't
Was it, like, just yelling or something?
it was heated argument and it hadn't progressed to yelling at that point. It would later
Yeah,
on and, later fights down the road, but um because I wasn't really angry. I was betrayed. I felt betrayed.
for sure.
And, coming from a place where I've been betrayed a lot, that it was a it shattered the veil or,
Yeah, the little heart glasses.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I said, "Okay, we're having a kid, and what is that? Like, what was that? I need to process." And,
so that's how you process, you have to create distance um,
it was
and get
at the
alone with your
time,
thoughts. Yeah.
I'm like I said, I hadn't gone into any of this. And I wasn't running away. I said, "We'll talk," but I need because I don't want this fight to continue. I need to go get in a better headspace and then reapproach this. Was it the right or wrong thing to do? I don't I don't know. I didn't know at the time. Would I have approached things differently today? Absolutely. But
Mhm.
that's why hindsight's 2020. Like we have and especially in those types of situations, we have a certain amount of time to respond and that can be just by what action we choose to take. And that's what I chose in the moment. And you know, it was made out that I was abandoning her. And
Yeah,
no,
especially as she's pregnant, you're leaving. Yeah, I already can, like I'm trying to switch my hat from, like, therapist to
yeah,
co-host. So I'm like, "Oh, avoidant attachment, anxious attachment. You
hmm,
probably had these things growing up." Yeah, you make all these connections, but these are just the programs you 2 are running. This is, like, the program for every relationship,
yeah.
majority of relationships. It's like the withdrawer and the pursuer, the avoidant and the anxious, and both have different fears coming from different places.
And it was a complete role reversal for me because I'm an anxious attachment. That's my personality. But that plays into this whole thing because I was trying to set a boundary that there was no way I was going to be able to, with an anxious attachment. I
Mhm.
wasn't, no, that was an illusion of a boundary, even for me. Um, but I got into a better space and I came back and, and we talked every day. Like, and keep in mind, this is only a few weeks in. So yeah. And, but from that point, it was, I was an abandoner, that got held against me all the time. And,
It would be
you
like,
know,
"Well, you left me that night
yep.
alone," kind of stuff. Yeah.
And I carry guilt so bad. so poorly.
I can
Like,
totally, yeah, I know that about you.
so in that
Yeah, you carry all the burdens.
and that's all it took to keep me in that for 3.5 years. I never wanted to have to feel that guilt again. So no matter what, even if that, even during the times that that route that I had taken then was unquestionably the right route, it kept me from doing it, even though, out of self-preservation, and
Right,
it
because
could have.
now if you don't leave in the future, if you don't leave the situation, now what? Because before,
Yeah,
that's how you created distance, so you didn't blow up, and so you didn't, like, so the situation didn't get, say, physical or yelling or whatever it was, it didn't escalate. The distance is the thing that saves the shit from getting worse. And so if now it's held against you, so you're like, okay, well, I'm out of that option. Now what do I do? So what did you end up doing as things heated? Because conflict happens in all relationships, but as you had more and more conflict, what were your go-to moves?
oof, take damage, and you know,
What did that look like? Sorry, I'm like therapy mode, but that's
uh,
okay.
no, 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 absolutely,
Yeah, well, I'm
and
trying to help guys, like guys specifically, because this is really common. I'm trying to help guys put words to what they're doing and feeling and expressing, like, or not able to express right now because they've never really thought about it, or it's like happening beneath their awareness level. So this is kind of illuminating that.
yeah. So how did that? What was your question again?
Yeah. So you said took damage, and like, okay, well, what did that look like?
Okay, so instead of like during times where a fight or an argument or discussion would have been healthy, I'd swallow it.
Do you just stay
And
quiet or like
yeah,
agreeable or yeah?
for a while until it would build, build, build. And I would have all this pent up, damage and
Would it go into your
frustration.
chest?
Eh, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's when my anxiety attacks started getting really bad and
Makes sense. That's where it all starts and is stored. At solar plexus, freaking and
in
heart, I
back.
imagine.
Yeah. That's when I
Um,
started having really bad, my blood pressure would just
yep. Is where
through the
guys will
roof.
have like I keep saying guys because it's just common, but it's where you'll have heart palpitations or like blood pressure issues from that repressed um anger that's unexpressed, possibly resentment as it builds. Yeah.
And, everything that I would do or say would get held against me. And so I stopped allowing myself to feel even more and more. And then, you know,
Wow.
s man, I'm trying to think of the next big catalyst. Um, so things smoothed out during the pregnancy and for a little while. And then she moved in, you know, I had a 3-bedroom townhouse that I was sharing with my dad at that time. And hell, I kicked him, said, "Hey, you're gonna need to find your, own place because I'm moving my pregnant partner in." And, you know, that's just how it's gonna be. And he was fine with it. He was cool and he did that. And she moved in and everything about the townhouse was wrong. It was a pigsty and, you know, all of this. And I started, I made the garage a man cave, which, before even a year of being together, if I make my haven a cave out in the garage, that's not good.
Well,
um,
think about that. It's kind of almost like a metaphor, representative of like a safe space for yourself because you
mhm.
don't feel it, the energy in the space that you
And
share. So you
I
have to
couldn't,
like kind of like create your own little like place to breathe.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
all her furniture was moved in, and all of my stuff was gone. Like,
So you're losing little
it
pieces of you.
yeah, and
Yeah.
the garage was where a lot of my stuff ended up, so I just started going there, and, you know, that I couldn't leave, because I tried that
And then you
before.
abandon her. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So,
it's like, well, I'm
I
technically here.
exactly.
Yeah.
It felt like a fucking loophole.
Yeah.
Like,
What'd you do in the garage in your man cave? Did you
played,
play video games?
PUBG.
Oh
Like,
yeah, man.
um, dr
You
drink b
pairing
I
that
had a
up.
f I had a fridge out there, I drink
Dude,
beer,
every
rip
move you make
cigs.
from that point, the anxious attached person, depending on their level of unhealed, will make everything an abandonment from that point forward. Like, it'll be like playing your video game is abandoning me, hanging out with your drinking is abandoning me, being high is abandoning me. Which is basically what this is called. It's called a competing attachment.
Mhm.
So it's like,
That's
I need
exactly what it
you,
was.
you're not there. Even though you are there, you're not actually there. You're not looking at me. Your phone is a competing attachment. You're like,
Mhm.
you're like, um, you're doing too many dishes. Like they could literally become anything that's yours. Where you're not giving any attention their way. That's the extreme end of kind of like the anxiously attached. It's like they want more and more and more and more control, the illusion of control and attention, because the more space you take, the more um, isolated they feel and abandoned they feel. So
Mhm.
it's like you find the loopholes, and guess what? That's wrong too. And like what you'll end up saying is like, "Fuck, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. I'm fucked either way. I have no good moves here. I don't know what to do." And this is where a lot of guys land and stay. And they drink it away, or they gamble, or they, turn to other modes of escapism because you're literally trapped and it's
And that's
torture.
exactly what it felt like, and I felt so helpless, and, my family, and this is how do we make the parallel here to, narcissism? And because we kind of discussed how I figured out what narcissism was. I didn't know at this point in the journey yet that that's what this where this was headed, but I
Yeah.
got there.
Well, did your parents know, or did your family know that? First off, when you were, let me back up. When you went to the garage and you have this space for yourself, but everything seemed to be a problem no matter what, did you recognize it as something um to even talk about yet to anybody else? Or is this
I
something that
tried
you
to.
kept trying to fix on your own?
I tried to.
Yeah.
But
Who'd you kind of turn to, or like in
well,
here
my
along the
mom
way?
got pissed off because she didn't want my cat at her, she didn't want my cat at all, like
Yeah.
anywhere. And she had gotten me Tiffy when I was 18 as, hey, this is a divorce gift. Like your dad's getting, our cat. So that was her call, you know,
Yeah.
she assumed that I would want one. So she got me a kitten, and I didn't, I wasn't expecting it. And what do you know? I had that cat for 18 years. Like, and so when that came out, my mom was like, okay, she's on my shit list. Like there's something off here.
Because she didn't want
So
the cat.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
your ex didn't want the cat.
she's gonna ask you to dump a cat that you've had for 10 years. Nah,
Yeah,
that's
so
not
this
okay.
is one of the kind of like red flag things. And we don't want to portray narcissism, quote unquote, as like they're an evil person. It's more of the program is what they're running. And they can't even like, and I don't want to give excuses for this, but as I've worked with people with these traits, a lot of times they don't recognize this at all as a problem. Like they don't see it themselves. They're asleep to it. They're running their program. Um, so this is one of the kind of like red flag things. But it also takes two
Oh yeah.
to create, or like to be in a narcissistic relationship, you have to have the one feeding it and the one taking the food.
Mhm.
So you're kind of like the here kitty, whatever situation,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you got like 50 cats at your freaking door and you're like, "Oh shit." And you're like, "I'm running out of money and food and like I don't know how to keep feeding all these damn cats. Where are they coming from?" It's kind of that idea. You're like you're doing a good thing and
Most
then you're like
definitely.
it never ends.
And
I'm
to
running
give a
out
mouse a
of
cookie, like,
totally. Totally.
um, and that's what it
Um
was, and I was I still am the person, if I make a commitment to somebody, that's and I say and this was even before we got married, which was short-lived, but I made that commitment. I'm going to be there, and through hell or high water, and to my own detriment, it turned like I don't know, but I fed
yeah.
into it, and I
So
enabled
how did you how did you justify yourself getting rid of your cat? Like, what was going through your mind at the time? Because this is kind of like early on where you're like, okay, I'll do it. But what was your thought process there for
well,
that to
I
happen?
didn't get rid of the cat. I got rid of the dog. Um, before I met her, I got a German short-haired pointer,
Hmm.
and, anybody that knows anything about GSPs, they are big, strong, muscular, high energy dogs. And, the argument there, which lost, was he hurt the baby potentially. Okay, you're right. And we found my family and I found there was a friend of the family that was a dove, a bird hunting guide,
Hmm.
and
Cool.
he needed a dog, and he got Gus, and it was perfect for him. He lived out in West Texas on a ranch, couple thousand acres, and apparently was a badass bird hunting dog. So that that worked out. You can't do that with a cat. Like, um,
I don't know.
it,
Not me rehomed some cats, but my family goes through freaking animals, and then my littlest sister ends up with them all, which unfortunately.
but so my mom said she would take the cat, she would take Tiffy, and my dad took my other dog, Co. He was older. Um, so go from, you know, I wasn't allowed I was very clear. My dating profile had multiple of my pictures of my animals in. So that was another thing that was the math wasn't mathing. Like, I was very clear about my love for animals, and now this is a problem, and you're using the baby that isn't even here yet as a method to start cutting all this out of my life. And, you know, over and over again, like, one thing would be a problem, that problem corrected. The next thing, oh, now it's this animal. We need to get this one out. And the reasons changed every time. And I was just trying to placate, or, at that point, and not be construed as the problem, which so many time and the reality is there's problems. Any gender can be a problem. Like, it's not mutually exclusive to one. Men can be a problem, and in this relationship there were times where I was the fucking problem. And the difference being is I'll sit here and admit it and call my
Yeah.
own bullshit out, where that isn't done on the other foot.
Hmm.
When the shoe's on the other foot, that doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
You end up taking too much accountability, overly accountable for things that probably aren't on you to keep the peace. And then that person doesn't take any accountability. And then the cycle then perpetuates and it actually gets worse and worse and worse over time, if not interrupted. And this is so many relationships. Like, I'm a couples therapist. This is like freaking what I do. And it's so sad because people can't see it and they're like, how does this keep happening? Like, I don't understand. Like, like doing what they tell me to do, and it's never enough. Like I don't understand like how to get ahead of this shit. Like I'm a pretty
So
smart person, you
go
know.
to therapy. I went to therapy. I would come, and what you're not supposed to do is share it, oh, no, tell me what you did, you talked about in therapy. And I would tell her
Mm,
and be honest about it. Well, that therapist sounds like a problem. You need to go see another therapist. Ugh. Okay, let's go see a couples counselor. And the couples counselor became a problem. The second somebody wasn't on her side,
yep.
they had to go.
It's that inability to be accountable. It's the inability to look at themselves any part of the problem. Very fragile ego, essentially. And so, like, yeah, if they're not on their side or whatever. Hmm.
Yeah. And so the pregnancy was very complicated. And, you know, Reagan wound up being born 6 or so weeks early, and she had to spend 7 days in the NICU. The whole, the entire second half of the second trimester going through all the way to the end of the third trimester, we were in the hospital at least once a week. And, at this point, I was working a job where I had to be there at 5 o'clock every morning and got off at like 4. Um, it was a warehouse job, and I was exhausted, you know, and sex became a problem, like, because I did not have the energy to do that. Like, it wasn't that I didn't find her attractive or anything like that. My libido was so damn low from everything that
Yeah.
we just talked about, on top of working and trying to be everything everywhere all at once. You know,
Yeah. Just that
the
chronic
last,
stress, man. In every
yeah.
angle, no safety. Yeah, no emotional safety, no space for you.
And
Yeah.
that became a problem because I didn't find her attractive anymore, which couldn't be further from the truth. But I was so scatterbrained that I couldn't properly express it, you know, and it would lead to arguments and frustrations. And there was a time before Reagan came where I told her, okay, you have to go. You have to go. And she called an ex-husband, and because her this is
What got you
I'm
to
gonna
that point to say you have to go? Did it
um
escalate so
keeping
to
me
a
up all
certain
night, like, in propositioning, like, like, um in having to turn around, I need some sleep, like, or I'm going
so
to fall apart.
um I want to point out too with just in general, speaking generally, is like um people on the anxiously attached side, and that's the role they're in the relationship because you can flip-flop like you pointed out. Um on the anxiously attached side, you become so hyper aware of every little nuanced move that the other person makes, kind of like how you were probably doing the same with her, but for different reasons.
Mhm,
You become so hyper aware of every little emotional shift, bodily shift, whatever, when you're not making eye contact, all that, any moves that look different, you're like, what's that about? And it's suspicion. It's like, it's, so much deep insecurity, and then it's going to get projected out, but like she can intuitively sense, and I'm just making a generalization here, I don't know, but like 1 plus 1 equals 2. uh, you can intuitively sense when someone's pulling away from you,
yeah,
and
and in
you
essence, I
only have
was.
so many options and how you get that person to see you again. So on the anxiously attached side, sometimes it'll present as like hypersexuality and stuff like that to get them back into your good graces or whatever. Like, how do I get them to like me again? Why aren't they liking me? What's wrong with me? It's gonna be rooted in like this feeling of like I'm unlovable. There's something deeply wrong with me. There's a reason why they don't want to be around me. They can sense it, and then they're gonna
Mhm,
filter everything through that lens, and which is further like as far from the truth as possible. In your situation, you're just feeling like trapped or controlled or like you can't make any right move.
I needed
Um,
safety.
yeah.
And, sex is a very vulnerable proposition for both men and women,
Yeah.
especially for women, because that's just the nature of the role.
And so
But
sex in this situation would be used as a um tool rather than for connection. It'll
exactly.
be like, let me pull you back. And so intuitively you can pick up on that too, but you may not have words for it. You're like, I don't know
Hmm.
why I can't get into this or like why I don't want to or why it's not happening for me. Because your body knows more than you do. It's like,
Yeah.
hell no, I'm not freaking going there. No way. And women can relate to this too. When they have no freaking libido left, emotional safety, your body knows.
Yeah. And so, fast forwarding a little bit, Reagan came, everything was good for a while. We got married, because one of the reoccurring issues in our relationship is, when are you going to marry me? 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 Like, and I'm moving in with you. Like, and keep in mind, she's on marriage number 7 now. I was number 5. And that, another red flag, but I ignored, as I typically do. I will stick that fork in an electric socket all day because I see the best in people. That was
Yeah.
my
And you made a
goal in
commitment
life. I did.
to figure it out. Yeah.
And until I figured out that I can't be the white knight here. And, that was a little later on and a lot more heartache, but I had to come to that reality on my own and in my own time, because I was getting it from my mom. And this year, oh, you need to just break this off and just break contact. And no. And that created tension in within my family. Like, I went against them so much.
Yep.
And,
Because it's like your
fat.
family's like, what do we even do? We see this train wreck kind of situation, and they try to like tell you something you're not quite ready to hear yet, um, because you're not there yet. Like they can see, but you can't. So this is why like trying to interfere and intervene with people that are in toxic relationships doesn't typically work because
Mhm.
they literally can't see it yet. Not really. They can feel it, but they haven't caught up to it yet.
Yeah, and you're just introducing yourself into a situation where you can get attacked. You're more than likely gonna get attacked at that point, because you're touching the truth, and the truth fucking hurts. And we
For
lash out
sure.
against the truth a lot, and I was guilty of that too. And so, kind of speeding this up a little bit, things really started getting bad. Or like our honeymoon, um I wanted this is where the paradigm flipped again. I tried to initiate, like, hey, we're married now. Let's try this again. Let's do,
Yeah. Fresh
let's
start.
couple. And I have a migraine. Like, months and months and months of hearing that this is what you want. And I try to
Yeah.
initiate. And
Yeah, it was never about the sex.
yeah. And, you know, I got I got pissed off. I took my ring off, put it
Yep.
on the counter, which was fucking childish.
Well, and then
Like,
on the receiving side, you'll look like a narcissist. Like giving an ultimatum for sex is like wild, right? So, and it's like that's as far from the truth as like that's not what your experience was in the moment, right? Like so what was driving you taking your ring off? Like um what was going through your head?
that sex not being, you know, being not being regular was one of the biggest issues in our relationship. And now that I'm finally in it, and it's not like there's a different problem, it was like, okay, how many problems can there fucking be? Like, when will
Yeah.
these problems stop?
I'm doing what you
And
said that you wanted this whole time, and now you don't want it, and so I can't fucking win.
it was emotional whiplash,
Yeah.
like, is what it felt like. And again, it was a childish thing. It was from a place of pent up frustration. And, I I could have there are a number of reasons or a number of ways that I could have handled things better there. And, you know,
No, it took a level of vulnerability for you. You kind of like gave in to whatever it is that was telling you to wait a little bit on getting married or like whatever,
mhm.
and you bypassed your intuition there. You, I'm guessing, or,
Yeah.
or did it feel right
No.
when you did it? Okay. Um, and then you put yourself in a vulnerable position again of like, all right, you convince yourself, all right, now fresh start, whatever. And I like I'm in it now. I can do this now. And then
Mhm.
you get rejected,
I'm gonna
and
be
you're like,
present.
what
Yeah.
the? And now like resentment's really gonna build because now it's like you can't. You've gone this whole time like going like, okay, it's me, it's me, it's me. I gotta fix this. I gotta do something different. I gotta try harder. I gotta figure out a way. Like there's a something here missing. I gotta find it. And then you find it, you do it, and then it's like, nope, wrong. And that's so
Exactly.
many guys experience of like, now you're just fucking with me. So the whole time you've been like me, 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 and now you're like, nope. Now I'm looking at you different.
Mhm.
Now you're becoming the problem. Like, or maybe you were the problem the whole time. And this is the refinement process happening where
Yeah.
you had to be in so deep and so thick, and then vulnerability had to occur for you to then get rejected or blindsided again or whatever. For the switch to start turning on of like, wait a second, maybe this isn't all on me.
Mhm.
And then it's like the awakening happening, basically. That's what happens in the grander scale. So, yeah, keep going.
And okay, so we get into an argument that night and we come home the next day, we pick up the dog, the bloodhound that we got after Reagan was born, which we eventually had, it went to a new family shortly after all of this. Um,
Wow.
and you
Whose
know,
idea was the dog? Yeah.
for
Had to
those of
ask.
our for, for for our listeners that don't have audio for that, it was not
Oh,
my
yeah.
it was not
They could
it
probably
was
make a
not my
deduction there.
idea. Um, but the second the gate was open, I was all about it. Like,
Yeah, of
cool as
course.
shit. Like, big old
Makes sense.
bloodhound.
It's like maybe she
Beautiful.
was just because she was pregnant, so she's moody. You know what I mean? You like
Yeah.
convince yourself. Yeah.
You excuse things away and and that was used plenty of times. Hey, it's just my hormones. It's my hormones. It's my,
Mm-hmm.
and like as a guy, I can't experience those hormones, so I'm not going to project what those are or aren't on a woman. That's not fucking fair. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, like this is cool. Those are gone now. We can have dog. Like, sweet. But yeah, that dog was rehomed because her ears stunk. And bloodhounds get yeast infections in their
Yeah.
ears constantly, and it became too much of a hassle. Like, oh, that's what we do to our commitments?
Starting to
Oh,
see the
shit.
cracks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so we get back and she wanted time. I need you to go. Or, I'm, you know, and like, then I want an annulment. I want, and, you
Yep.
know,
It's because
I was,
she had you now.
mm-hmm. And I was like, we're not there
Got him.
yet. We
Yep.
can work this out. And, this is where the paradigm really flipped, where I was done. Like,
Yeah.
everything started getting used against me. Everything was weaponized. Like, and then she said, okay, come home. And I was like, no, 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 no. I don't, we're going to take a little more time here. And it was about 3 weeks after the quote unquote honeymoon, I was like, okay, whew, let's go at this again, try to figure this out. And as
Yeah.
soon as I was served divorce paperwork at work with a protective order. And
Well, how was there, like, some big argument that was like, when she said, "I need space," like, what was the catalyst there?
so, yeah, there I'm trying to remember, like, if I can't remember something clearly, I'm gonna try,
I
I'll
mean, did it escalate to the point you don't have to remember specifics, but I'm curious, like, did it escalate to the point of, like, screaming, slamming doors, like, it gets so, like, extreme or something like that? Or was it just, like, um, a a regular argument that maybe got a little too heated or something?
so there was heavy arguments, name calling and, that, but there hadn't really been that yet. It would come, but just it didn't start coming until I was in a totally compromising position. Like,
Got it.
so a little after we got married, she found out that she had breast cancer, or said, you know, and I'm not even gonna go down that train of thought. My family has their own perceptions of it, but I was in, then it turned into, you're abandoning me while I have cancer, that
Wow, look at this cycle repeating.
it's like,
This is what I
damn it.
mean by the cycles, man. Everybody
And
has them.
and so we didn't immediately separate, or separate after. It was multiple days of tension, and by this time I had let go of my townhouse, and we moved into her apartment, so I didn't have anywhere to go. Like, she got a new apartment, and I let my townhouse go. We're married, this, that, and the other. And, I start sleeping and, crashing on the couch of my dad's 1-bedroom apartment, which worked out because it was about 5 minutes from where I was working at the time. And he's cool. And my dog was there. Um, uh, so chains and events. So there was one day, there was, okay, so I had started going from sleeping in the bed, and everything was an argument. Like, we'd stay up till 2 a.m. talking in circles, like,
Yeah.
and finally I said, I need to go get some sleep. So I'd go on the couch just to get a little peace. And one night she followed me into the living room, and okay, yeah, it's coming back to me. Uh, so yeah, it kind of touches on what you were saying. She followed me to the living room, and a couple minutes, just long enough for me to get comfortable, and like,
Yeah.
and came and sat down on the couch next to me to keep the argument going. And I was like,
Yep.
I it was dark. I just reached out and to feel where she was at, and y- I did one of these. She punched me in the face. It,
Oof.
oh, like, what are you? I'm,
Another blindside moment, betrayal
yeah.
moment. Yep.
And what I did, like, I didn't know how to react. Like, I stood up, and my night, like, we're both in the military. We know, like, night eyes, they come, and it was all dark, so I could see her silhouette basically. And she always wore a robe. And I stood up. She took a couple of steps back and was coming to swing again. And I was like, shit, what do I do? I grabbed her up under the armpits, like her arms, and she, not a very big person, and I was working a warehouse for a roofing company at the time. So I was throwing around 80-pound bags of shingles all day. Like, and I was former infantry. That's nothing for, she was maybe 100 pounds. Picked her up out of, like, what the fuck do I do? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just start walking her. Oh, sorry, I g- I reenact sometimes. Picked her up and started walking her to the bedroom because I was like, timeout, timeout. That's what she needs. Timeout. Like, I got her to the door, then I get head butted, bam, and like I drop her, boom, and she crumbles to the floor like a sack of potatoes. And you know, the next day, it kind of stops there. Like nothing escalated from there. It She went to the room, I went back to the couch, we both taking a breath. I went to work the next day, and she was in college at the time and going to school for psychology. Um,
You know what's interesting? Pause. This is a sign subconsciously she's trying to heal. But like she can't see that yet, or at least that's what I'm
no,
picking up on. Like
to
people
what
who
you're
pursuing
saying,
psychology, they're
yeah,
wanting to understand their fucked up shit, but that they don't actually they're not even aware of it. It's the
it's a
subconscious
calling.
like yeah, it's like, we're gonna need some assistance here. It's gonna
Yeah,
take
you
a
have
while for us
things
to
you need
gain
to work
awareness.
on. And
Yeah,
she had
yeah,
a very traumatic childhood. I
yeah,
don't want to get into that too much because it's not my
sure,
story to tell.
yeah.
Um,
Hey,
so there
Bob.
was a hey Bob.
Hey,
Um,
kitty.
there nerd. Um, there was a lot of I provided a lot of space given, what I was told about her childhood, and there was a lot of that
Yeah.
there too.
Like, a lot of grace for
Yes.
things. You're like, "That this makes sense because of" yeah, so you're, like, excusing it, excusing it, excusing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go to work the next day and I leave work early because I know she's in class, and I get as much of my stuff as ever loving possible. And I get out and I remember texting or talking to my cousin, uh, and I said, dude, I can't be in a relationship where there's physical violence. Like, I just can't. Like, that's not a good recipe. This is my line. I'm going to separate. And yeah, I separated. So I need to correct myself from a little bit ago. And but she did ask for an annulment because I abandoned her again. And, you know, and she had kicked me out, you know, it had been back and forth. Her making me leave was fine, just as long as I came back when she called. When I separated, it was a direct assault on her, and like if I didn't come back when she called, it made things worse. So that's
Yeah.
when the 2 or 3 week time frame came, and I had finally cooled down enough to where, and she was keeping Reagan away from me this entire time. Like, no, you can't see her. Eh, To
How
see
old's Reagan
her,
at this point?
ooh, 8 months, not even like 7 months. So, no, 9 months, because it was almost a year. This was going into the summer of 2019, I believe, and that's when the divorce was filed. Um, so, uh, we got married January 2019. All this started happening going into summer of 2019. I take my couple weeks and I'm at work, and I mentally had decided, and I had even told her in a text message that, hey, I'm ready to start working on this again. Let's set something up where we start easing back into this. And that day was when the process server showed up to my work, and like a big spectacle. She knew where I was staying, like could have done it in many different ways, but humiliated me in public because it wasn't just a divorce packet, it was a ex parte temporary restraining order. And she had taken
And this is 3
pictures.
weeks later?
Yeah.
After that event?
And yeah, and she had taken pictures of bruises from me picking her up, which anybody that knows anything about, like, so she had cancer, and you bruise easier, all of these, and that got slipped in. And what I didn't understand, or like why I didn't, she hit me in the face. I tried, I stopped her from hitting me again
Yeah.
and tried to put her in timeout to
Yeah. But
diffuse the
in
situation.
on her story, he hit me first because the finding her in the dark, it
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
what she would have convinced herself of that's what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I get it. I mean, if I can, because this was the catalyst to all these years of me being so far fucking behind the eight ball in this, it, like, just that. And it was spatial awareness, like understanding where my surroundings were, because if it's a threat, I need to know where it's at. And sure enough, it was a fucking threat. It hit me. Like,
Yeah.
and so this came, and I didn't know, I don't know if it's like this in other states, but if a divorce is filed with a restraining order, child support starts immediately.
Shit. Did not know that.
Yep. Yep.
Ugh.
So we had mediation a few weeks later. She shaved her head for the mediation.
Because the
Chemo,
cancer.
yeah, chemo treatments were, she hadn't even had surgery to remove the lump.
Yeah.
She shaved her head the day before mediation. Ugh. What am I supposed to do here? I got the fucking floor mopped with me. The floor was mopped with me. Like, and what do you even do? Like, I was so blindsided by everything. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't, in toxic
Yeah.
masculinity. Oh, I never told anybody she fucking hit me. Like,
Now you're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
child support started immediately. The divorce ended up, because that, keep in mind, 2019 looping around into the beginning of 2020, we all remember what fucking happened with COVID.
Yep.
That pushed, all these court dates way back. So it was, the divorce wound up not happening until like late 21, October 2021. And you know so the protective order's in place, and it started getting used against me. Oh, I know there's a protective order in place, but you can come over here. You just have to follow every single rule, or I'm going to call the cops and get you arrested again.
You know what's really crazy is like there's no um due process situation happening. You're like just all of a sudden you're just assumed guilty without uh, any say on your end. You're just fucked from the get-go. Um you're literally, and how I'm framing this is like you're always behind. You're lagging
Hmm.
and everything's coming at you as a surprise, which is a nervous system thing.
Yeah.
How
And,
you perceive time happening. It's like,
you know,
how does this keep happening? I'm blindsided. I'm blindsided. I'm blindsided.
and eventually it turned into a situation of Stockholm syndrome, like, where I figured out, if I played the part that she expected me to play, everything would be good. So I had to start sacrificing my morals and my integrity and my, like, just to play her part, like talking shit to my parents. Like, she wanted me to shit on my mom. You got it. I will cuss that bitch out right now. You know, like,
Yeah. To see your
and
girl.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what it was, to be there for Reagan. And, it was how, this is how you can see your daughter, play by my rules and everything will be fine. And, there was a period of blissful, you know, servitude, where I got pretty damn good at it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, "Oh,
and
damn, I'm finally getting this right. Okay."
yeah, and
A little too
then
late. Yes.
and then it would become exhausting again, you know, and I would start failing. Like, okay, here's a point. Like, she told me to read the five love languages. Good soldier that I am at this point.
Wait, so you guys were you dating again?
We were still married
Oh,
legally, but
with the restraining order?
yeah, for a while. Eventually, she dropped it
Yeah.
at the big hearing, but there was a course, like a span of 3 weeks, because ex parte
Yeah.
is it's automatically granted a hearing set,
Right.
you know, and you know this, read five love languages, and we would have arguments like every night, like, of what I was doing wrong.
So you
And
moved back into the house?
yeah,
Yeah. After
and
okay.
yeah, and like, there was one violation of the protective order because she said I wasn't doing anything for Reagan, so I went and bought a car seat and dropped it off at the front door. I got reported for a violation. I wasn't providing anything for Reagan, and she reported me for a violation. So bam, off to Yale.
Seriously?
Yeah, I got arrested a total of 4 times.
Shit. Off of, like, stuff like that?
Yeah, and I like arguments where, okay, like, she had cancer. I had really good insurance at the time, and we had already paid the deductible for the year for her treatments and stuff like that. And like, we got into an argument over a cat that I rescued at work. Like, I found a cat in
These
some
damn
plywood.
cats, Ryan.
I know, like, shit. But like we were talking before, there's something very anyway. I was I saw it at work. It was late, and the animal shelter closes at 4 in my county. So I told him, "Hey, I found this kitten. It's in real bad shape. I'm going to take it to the shelter." I call, you know, Reagan's mom and tell her where I'm going, because I had to tell her every move I made, or it was held against me. And she said, "Oh, don't drop it off there. Bring it, bring it to the apartment. I'm coming home from school. We'll take care of it, and, it'll be our cat." Okay, awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Great. She got home. She saw the shape the cat was in. It's got to go. Like, what the fuck, dude? And this was another point where I had enough. Like, no, we made I was at the animal shelter. You told me to turn around and bring this damn thing back. We're keeping the cat here until we can figure out something to do with it, instead of just putting it the fuck outside in a box and letting nature, because its eyes were all swollen. It had
Oh, wow.
fleas all over it. I had just gave it a Dawn bath to kill some of the fleas before she had gotten home. And, you know, all of this other stuff, and I had enough, and I got loud, I got angry. "You will not yell at me. I will call the cops." Dude, if you call the cops, my work has already told me if there's any more issues between us, they're gonna fucking fire me. Like, because I always had to miss work,
Yeah. Are
go,
you still paying child support at this point, even though you're
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like, in the same house and stuff?
absolutely.
Interesting. What a weird the
That'll come up.
legal system's so fucking weird.
Oh,
As you
it's
know.
yeah. Um, and that's the betrayal. I thought the legal system made sense, or, listened to logic and common sense. Not the case. Like, and I'm honest the whole time. Like, I try to be, so this night is a perfect example. I, so we're in an argument, and every time that she starts getting on the back foot in the argument, she pulls out her phone, you know, "I'm going to call the cops." And finally, she gets up and starts coming towards me, and I snatched the phone out of her hands. Pop! I put it in my back pocket, and I say, "Look, if you do this, here is the exact chain of events that are going to happen. The
Yep.
cops are going to come with everything that is already against me. They're going to take me straight to Yale,
Yep.
and then I'm going to have, somebody's going to have to tell my work that I'm in jail again because of this, and they're going to fire me on the spot. Boom. There goes the 10,000 that, we put towards the deductible and my family is helped out with. Like, and you're going to have to pay for all of your cancer treatments out of fucking pocket."
I want to point out how in the very beginning of you guys dating, that first moment, the bar, hey, don't post pictures. This is the same situation on steroids.
Hmm.
From this is how people they bypass these red flag things from the very beginning. I'm just pointing out yours as an example because this
Yeah.
is a perfect example of how this exact feeling will happen in the beginning, but you'll bypass it. You'll justify it. You'll explain it away to yourself of like, that was a little off. That fluke. Okay, maybe I get her side. Makes sense. And then you keep doing that again, and then you build tolerance. So, like, in this situation, it's like, now you're dealing with, like, your fucking life.
But it's exactly how gaslighting or
Yes.
love
It
bombing,
builds.
gaslighting, hoovering, and
Yes. It
it
builds over
creates a
time.
cycle. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you don't
It's
break
like
the
a drug,
chain,
but, like, opposite.
yeah.
I mean, it's kinda
Yeah.
actually is a drug because you're also addicted to that pattern of, like, "But I gotta fix it, I gotta fix it, I gotta fix it." It's like this dopamine
Mhm.
hit that you get. Even though it doesn't feel good, it does feel good to get it right. And that's the cycle you're trapped in where it's like dangling a little carrot and you're like, I can reach it. I can reach it." And it's just like, all of a sudden you're like, "How the fuck did I get here? How did this
And
happen?"
that's like I missed the part where she called me in for a DUI during Reagan's pregnancy because
Wow.
I didn't come home. And she had,
Oh, shit.
yeah, like, it was a Friday. The guys at work were like, "Hey, you never hang." They were mostly Hispanic guys, and I had a really good rapport with
Mhm.
them. And anybody that knows anything about Hispanic crews, they love drinking cerveza Fridays after
Mhm.
work.
Mhm.
And you know, they asked me if I'd hang out with them because that's rapport building. And finally, they got me because I was fed up and I didn't want to go home. I said, "Hey," and this is another lie, and I shouldn't have had to tell a lie, but I told a lie. Like, "Hey, I'm working late," which was true to a point. I worked
Yeah.
about 30 minutes late,
Gotcha.
and yeah, so I
So
had a
you're
few
having to
beers
go
with them.
against your values, your moral code of, like, being honest, and so you can get that escape. So you could just feel like,
Mhm.
"Fuck, this feels
And
good."
it did. Like, it was
Yeah.
so cathartic just to be out there talking to him, shooting the shit, and she had my um location, you know, tied to her phone. So she came up to work and caught me and the guys drinking beers and made a big scene. And that
Mhm.
made me want to dig in more. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to keep drinking beers,
Yeah, at
whatever.
that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
so I stayed out
You got that
later.
liquid courage.
Yeah. And like finally, when it was time to go home, and I told her, "Look, I will be back later. Like, just let me have this one. Fine, whatever. This is how you treat your pregnant wife." Like, ugh.
Yeah.
And, I went home, or I started going home. I got behind the wheel, which was fucking stupid, but I really didn't. Was I going to call her to have her come pick me up? Um, and I hadn't really done the Uber game. There's 1,000 different ways I could have done it. Like, I was so disoriented from, not only the beer, but the events that had happened that night. I wasn't thinking straight for a lot of fucking reasons.
Yeah, you don't really like
And
it's almost like your inhibition like goes down. It's like why people freaking hook up with people they would never do it otherwise because like
yeah,
that's what it does.
in the other extreme of just having a big argument and being flustered there, like, it
Yeah,
was
for
a
sure.
really bad combination. And,
Understandable.
like, I drove home, I got arrested. And the way it was presented to me, oh, there was an anonymous call, somebody saw you
Damn.
swerving, and, I went to jail. I called her as my first call, and, you know, she came and got me out with my mom the next morning.
Now
And
you'll never hear the end of it.
exactly.
It's
It
another thing to
wasn't
like got him.
it wasn't until a year and a half later in another argument where she said, "You know who called that in on you? I did."
Betrayal times a million. Wow.
Yeah, and she sat on that for a year and a half.
That's freaking crazy.
Like, I would die.
Yeah,
Like,
same, same.
keeping a secret,
I
like,
can't I can't lie like that. I can't keep secrets.
like,
I buy
and
presents at the last minute because I'll tell everyone what I got
and
them.
she immediately won the argument because I had to roll my jaw up from the floor, like,
It's
but
like,
it all
see
made
how
sense.
this is where women, we're freaking calculated, man.
It's terrifying. Like, I had
Like,
no clue, my ignorant self. Like,
don't fuck with us. No.
and it was like, it's
Yeah.
fucking genius. Like, oh my God, I'm not even knocking the
To
hustle.
hold that, man, it's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And that, yeah, there's just so many things. And like I said, I got arrested within that relationship 4 times. I'll take the hickey on the DUI, like, for sure. That's I'll own the ever living shit out of that one. And we
Yeah.
cuss. We need to, and we've talked to the comments about this. We're cussers.
No,
Like,
Ryan, keep cussing. We're not gonna fucking change for anyone.
I know.
I like the on my page is like it's sentence seasoning.
Yeah, it's all big. But I know. I just get heated and, like,
No, it's okay. I
weird
actually was
things come to
editing
my
the
mind.
video from I was editing the video from last week and I was like, dude, he said fuck like I think 7 times in this one sentence. It was like every other word was fuck. And I didn't even edit it out. I was like, nope, we're keeping it.
It's one of the best words there
Sentence
is.
seasoning.
Like,
It adds
it's
that
such a
emphasis.
but,
I mean, it helps your
I
point.
got arrested before, and keep in mind, this is when I'm very selfishly just focusing on the effect that it's having on me. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't, and
I'm going in
most
there
of
with
the
the other angles because there's always 2 sides because if I were to interview her,
yeah,
totally different experience, right? Because everyone experiences their reality confirming their beliefs.
and so
You
I've
can't
had,
trust her memory.
yeah, 4 protective orders against me. Not one of them has passed the bench. You know, um, the DUI, and I was arrested about 4 times during the relationship. And, you know, I'm like, there was
Were you
even,
ever arrested before the relationship? Like, ever in your
I,
life?
I had 1 DUI before that,
Okay.
and I got
And that was the whole,
pub,
like, veteran treatment court
yeah,
situation? Yeah.
and I got 1 public intoxication on mid tour leave.
We'll let that one slide.
Yeah. Like,
It's like, it's just whoever gets caught. I mean,
yeah.
everyone fucking.
And, I'm not even gonna, like, I have arguments for everything, and I think there's one to be had there, but I won't even. I deserved it. I got mouthy. Like, which to nobody's surprise. Um,
I need to
anyway.
see you drunk now.
Oh,
Well, you don't drink anymore, so maybe
I
in
do
another
like
life.
family events,
Oh yeah, I
and
gotta come to a family event then. Okay. Any wedding, invite me
oof.
in the future. If
Well,
you're brave enough to get married again.
we'll get into my feeling. I think marriage as an institution, like a federal thing,
Yeah. Scam.
therein lies therein lies the problem. I think the concept
Yeah,
of
that's how you're
marriage and
fucked to begin with.
yeah,
You're
and
trapped. Yeah.
I think commitments, a commitment such as that, can and should be between the two people and not
It's like that
involve.
divine union thing, like
Yeah,
basically view it that way, like
exactly. And
spiritual connection. Yeah.
that's where the accountability lies within the two parties. There isn't a third party arbitrator that
Yeah.
tells what something, that gets projected onto the relationship and
Yeah.
creates no end of of excuses and reasons to bail, and it creates
Yeah.
monetary incentive to for dissolution.
Dude. You know what's crazy is like my sister got a divorce in Virginia and they require you to be separated for a year before you can actually get a divorce. And that isn't that like people don't even notice that as an issue. And it's because they use like religion as their freaking protective coating of like the shame based shit to
Yeah,
keep people enslaved and in line. Like, no, who cares about your needs and wants? It's about what everyone else says is appropriate. So it's like you're
exactly.
just gaslit from the beginning.
And
Like, ugh,
we'll dive deeper on that because I ran the algorithm, or
yeah,
on marriage too, and just the institutionalized marriage, like in how it's set up to create divorce in today's day and age, which it is
yeah,
like
because they
the
program you
divorce
in as a
rates higher.
kid. And then you're naturally going to pair up with someone who's on the opposite end of the trauma spectrum as you, but just as in extreme trauma for you guys to actually sustain at all and bond to begin with. And then that cycle is going to take hold of the relationship, which on your end, it got very extreme. And for
Yeah,
a lot of veterans, it gets very extreme because you have extreme trauma histories usually. And so it's going to match because of the projections that I talked about earlier. You project onto your relationship your unresolved trauma and you place your partner in a role. So I would, if you were like a client of mine, I would be digging into that shit. Like, okay, tell me about your childhood, Ryan. Tell me about your caregivers and like tell me about like because there's a loop happening there and it may not have ever gotten that extreme in your childhood, but
no,
like there's a pattern that happened with you to where you bypassed and gave excuses for from the get-go of like, well, maybe I could look beyond this, you know?
both of my both of my daughter's moms, which I haven't really talked about, Lily, and
Mhm.
I mean we'll get to her at some point,
How old's
and
Lily?
Lily is 10 months old. And I haven't seen her in 3 months. Um, but I'm learning from past
Yeah,
experiences, and that's kind of what I'm going towards because, like, the last thing I said in this relationship was I was too focused on myself to really see the effects that it
yeah,
might have been having on Reagan at this time. But once I got fully separated from it, I could kind of, okay, oh shit, I'm leaving her
yeah,
into this mess of trauma. Like, one, how do I rebuild myself and not allow myself to be a perpetrator of this trauma in any way? And that could be me trauma dumping on her, like, you know,
yeah,
talking crap about her mom, which I do, like, in helping her understand what I now understand. In what
yeah,
you talked about, I have all these feelings and I'm saying all these things here, but I see the wounded child that she, you know, her mom was, and I cared deeply for that wounded child in her, honestly, in a lot of ways. I am not the fix
Yeah,
to her
because
problem.
she would be picking up on her mom's cycles and your cycles depending on her orientation to how she's
Yeah.
experiencing her reality and herself.
Mhm.
She's going to be presented with situations to where she has opportunities to break those cycles as well. And with your support in that and like wisdom, she can break it even faster in her childhood, even so where she never has to experience the extremes, which
Well,
is suffering.
and unfortunately, she already has. And, post-divorce, it became a custody battle because I was finally what what finally separated me from her mom, like, and there was another man, like, she had gotten remarried after the divorce, but I was still coming back to pick up pieces when their relationship was going bad, getting scraps. I was always on call, like, and, you know, I had tried to make my own business. Like, I started a moving company with my cousin, and he had to step away, so I was doing it on my own. And, I was working like, hey, and I was told, hey, you need to come take us swimming at her apartment, which I had an apartment, a 2 bedroom with my dad now that I was sharing. Like,
Look at that cycle
I,
again. Third
I,
time.
I, I upgraded from the couch. We got our own apartment. But, one day she was texting me, you need to come take us swimming. It was July of 2022, I think. Um, Reagan was 2.5, so it might have been 21. Um, and I go over there and I was like, look, hey, you're complaining about child support, that I don't have a job, so you're not getting it. I'm trying to create a company so I can have the flexibility to both give you child support and, give you the time that you're demanding from me, as a owner of a business, but I have to put in the work. And we got into an argument and she hit me in the face again. She was holding Reagan, and Reagan, even I have Reagan on video talking about, mommy hit daddy. And, you know,
How old was
damn
she
it,
here?
2.5.
Yeah.
So, um, I didn't retaliate in any way. I
Because
just,
at that point, did you have some sorry. Did I
oh,
scare
you're
you?
good. No, no,
You
no.
popped up.
I was doing
Sorry.
my acting,
Oh.
like reenactment.
I got you. Like, you have my attention. Um, you at that point, did you start recognizing the impact on Reagan at that point when she hit you, or was it after that?
So it was a little bit afterwards, but this was the catalyst that really, um, so I had just, I got hit in the face, and she didn't hit me hard because she had Reagan in one arm. She couldn't really, you know, put everything behind it. But I was like, enough is enough. I walked out. I went through the back door out the garage to my truck, and I was thinking, am I going to go to the police with this? And I
Yeah, because
didn't
last time you
call.
didn't say anything, and it
Yeah,
screwed you. Yeah.
I didn't call. I gave myself the drive to make the final decision.
Mhm.
I drive there. I go to the local auxiliary station, which in the town is what we had for the county sheriff's department. I sat down, or, I went and said, I want to file a report. And I gave them my name, and they said, okay, please sit down. We'll send you know, um, a trooper, however they classify, a sheriff to come get your statement. And I was like, okay. there's usually one on call because I know this by now, the information. So I figured he would just come from the back, and it was about 20 minutes. And finally, I went up to the lady at the desk, and I was like, so when am I going to be able to get my statement? Oh, the responding sheriffs will be here in a minute. It turns
Oh, they
out
went to her first?
right after I left, she called the cops.
Shit.
So the sheriffs that interviewed her wanted to interview me. And I said, look, she hit me in the face. And well, she said you hit her. And
Oh, man.
and long story short here is we're going to approach it as a he said, she said. We're not even going to take your statement.
Yep,
And
because whoever gets there first.
yeah.
And if you're a man or a woman, that actually greatly matters as well,
So
unfortunately.
the next day was a Thursday, and I had extended visitation with Reagan at this time. I went back to court and got that. So I had Thursdays, every Thursday and every other weekend. And I pick Reagan up from daycare after I get off of work. I was sweaty. I was still working the roofing job. Um, I put her in her bed. She was probably watching Frozen 2. I hear a bop, bop, bop on my door. And keep in mind, this is the day after. Action in more detail here. Um, she wanted to go out with her friends because her birthday was coming up, Reagan's
Yeah.
mom. So
Mhm.
my dad went and got Reagan after she hit me in the face and brought her back to our apartment. I took her to daycare the next day. I
Yeah, I was gonna
picked
say,
her up.
how did you guys interact and you got Reagan after that? Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
my dad went and got her. And so I pick Reagan up, the knock on the door. I look through, there's two police. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I open the door. They ask if they could put their eyes on Reagan. Um, I let them, I said, sure, come on in. And here she is. And then a detective comes in, and another detective, and a fifth, or, a third uniformed police officer stood outside the door. And they said, we're taking her. And I said, excuse me, for what, mind you? Well, there's been sexual assault, sexual assault accusations. I said, okay, from where? And they wouldn't tell me. It took me about 20 minutes to get this information from them. Well, against you, sir. Where where did they come from? Oh, the daycare. Her mom was good friends with multiple people at the daycare. Like, she had me on multiple occasions go mow their yards and do, work on their houses, and always texting them, had this relationship. I'll let people connect dots where they so choose. But the next day, the day after she hits me in the face, there's sexual assault allegations from me to my daughter because I went to the
Dude.
sheriff to file a report for getting hit in the face. It was
And how do
retaliation.
you not fucking lose your shit in that moment and like fight cops to get your kid? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wanted
What?
to. Like,
Yeah.
all that all that was going through my head is those badges are real fucking cute. Like,
Yep.
I'm I'm a
Try
fucking
to
war
take my
fighter.
daughter, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
but
fucking damn.
and I had to I called my dad, like, hey, you need to get here now. He worked on the other side of the damn world, and anybody that knows Houston, it's an hour away from Houston. Um, like, Houston is an hour away from itself. That's the local joke. So he wasn't going to be there in time, and they said, we're waiting on mother to come pick her up. And she had just gotten freaking laser eye surgery the day before, like, that I took her to, or no, that day. And that morning, or something, she had just had laser eye surgery. The doctor told her that she shouldn't drive for at least 24 hours. And I tried to explain this to the detectives, like, look, they gave her pain medicine. They, you know, and she just had this surgery where the doctor said she shouldn't drive, and now you're putting my daughter in the car with this person. Who's wrong here? Like, what are you doing? And so this is the night that broke me, like, in so many ways. Like, they took her away. Her mom said she'd keep me updated. She didn't know what was going on, and it must be confusion, and, we'll get this sorted out. And I still sort of believed her at the time, because I could never imagine it would go like, who does this?
The person who
And
called on the DUI and kept it
yeah,
for a fucking year and a half from you.
yeah, exactly. And
Cycle
but
continues deeper
I
this
I did
time. Wow.
I hadn't known, or yeah, I did. But that was so far away from my mind in that moment because of the gravity of the current situation. Like, yeah, she's capable of that, but to say that I sexually assaulted, that I raped my daughter, no,
Yeah.
like, that's just next level stuff there.
Yeah.
And,
Like something
it
you can't
turned,
even fathom.
yeah.
It's like crossing
And
such a deep line.
so they all left. She's on the phone. My mom and my dad are at the apartment with me, and we're trying to figure out, okay, what cops took her. It turns out that cops from her county came into my county, different counties. They didn't alert any of the police off, the precincts in my county that they were doing it, and took her, which to me, that's crossing jurisdictional lines. Like, so I called every jurisdiction in my county, and they knew nothing about it. So I couldn't find my daughter for 24 hours. All I
Oh
was
shit.
getting was her information, and she took her to the local children's hospital because she, to get checked out. And that was on CPS's, CPS recommended that to her. So, I'm just doing what CPS said. Okay, they didn't have a sane nurse on location during this.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, well, they're transferring us downtown, which is about an hour away at minimum. And
And not to
in
mention, this is
downtown,
a 2.5-year-old getting this freaking exam, which is
and it's
fucking wild.
midnight at this point. Okay. And all of this has gone on. I said, no, you just need to go home and get that girl some rest and take a breath.
Yeah.
But she insisted.
And you know how that could look too on your end. It's like, no, 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 don't take her, don't take
Yeah.
her.
Well,
Like
and no,
any evidence would be scrubbed after a certain amount of time.
well,
So as she goes to the
and
bathroom and stuff like that. Yeah.
that was my point to the officers. Like, you're going to release her directly into her mother's care without without securing any evidence. Like,
Fair.
that's problematic. Like,
Yeah. That's
um
fair.
what do you call it? Chain of
Chain
custody.
of custody. Yeah.
You're gonna break. Yeah, you were
Mm-hmm.
the equivalent of that. You broke chain of custody right there. This whole investigation is fucking foobar, um because of simple things like that. But they weren't listening to me, and
Yeah.
I didn't,
Because you're guilty. You're
yeah,
guilty in their eyes. It doesn't fucking matter. They're not going to ask questions, which unfortunately they have good reasons
yeah,
for viewing men this way because of how common it is. And so the ones that are innocent, they fucking don't stand a chance, man.
no. And so she took her downtown, and it wasn't till about 4 o'clock in the morning that the nurse was able to make it to her, and she did the preliminary examination. And I was on the phone with her mom at this point, and I could hear everything that the nurse was saying. She said that there was no evidence of any disturbance in those areas, and she said, "We don't believe that any sort of swab is necessary based off of that." And she told him to do it anyway. And I lost my damn mind. What the hell? Why are you why? Well, wouldn't it'll just prove that nothing happened. Don't you want that? Don't you want to clear your name?
And this is
Not at
where a fucking child becomes an object in between as a manipulation tool, and like the child's no longer its own entity. This,
No.
yeah.
And she had it done. I hung up the phone and said that was, the
Also,
night.
that's another betrayal. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
And, you know, I immediately, like, my mom got on the phone with not just a family lawyer at this point. We found a law office that did family and criminal because, okay, these accusations are against me. We got to get ahead of it. And that retainer was $20,000.
Yeah.
Um, and fucking his first word, you're getting a polygraph test. We're setting it up. We're starting there. I had a polygraph test done, passed with flying colors. No, there was no false negative, nothing. And he dropped it off to the DA's office, and I told the detective, like, hey, I have an attorney now. Piss off. And, this happened. Reagan was withheld for me for a month and a day. And there was no court order in place that superseded our current visitation schedule.
Mm-hmm.
She was hiding behind the detective. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, the detective said that I shouldn't allow this. Well, the detective is violating my fucking rights,
Yeah.
and you are hiding
And you
behind
can't
this.
go
You're
snatch her up because now she's just gonna call the cops. 2 seconds, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's such a long story, and even now I'm missing a lot of details, but there have been two more sexual assault accusations against me on Reagan, and this time they were both directly from her mother, which, let's be real, like, we
She
can see the
she's
pattern at work
connected to
here.
the first.
It wasn't the daycare that did that.
Mm-hmm.
um but she's been subject to 15 or 12. I've lost count. Uh, and
Wow.
I
Remember
showed the
what I
binder.
said about um when your child is the age that your trauma occurred, you'll start projecting.
Yeah. And
So, and you may not even remember it. That's the thing. For a lot of people, they don't remember their traumas, but their body does. Their body codes everything. So, when stuff like this happens and you don't understand why, that could be something that it's connected. Of like, why would they do this? I don't understand, and it's the confusion that really destroys people. Like, I don't know why this would happen. How could they view me this way? I don't. What did I do to deserve this? But it has no. It's like it could have been anyone because what they're doing is projecting, and you're in the role of the perpetrator now. That
oh,
they're replaying a trauma from
it
their
was
childhood. At least
it
that's
was
my
a
interpretation based on what you're saying.
well-crafted role that was
Yes.
projected onto me over
Yeah.
the course of the years before for this, where from the outside, I looked like a terrible person because
Mhm.
she painted me out to be a terrible
Yeah.
person. And she was a paralegal in the county that
Yeah.
did all of these things. So
Wow.
she was connected to many high-level attorneys, a lot of, you know, um, a DA had to recuse themselves because she was a colleague, you know,
Wow.
or an ADA. And
Yeah.
now that
She
ADA,
needs you to be guilty. She needs you to be the one that's the villain because then she doesn't have to look at herself ever.
yeah. And, you know, that was at 2.5, and at this she had her swabbed again when she was 5, and ultimately, those things and my progression of implementing gray rock method
What's
and
that?
not fighting fire with fire.
Oh, I was like, "What's gray rock method?"
Gray gray rock is a method of dealing with narcissists where it's kind of like the let them theory.
Okay.
Like, you just let them expose themselves and you don't respond.
Yeah.
Like, you you don't fall into the trap anymore because that's what they're looking to pull you in,
Yep,
and get
they're
you
feeding
to
off your energy.
react.
You're giving it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
because
reactive
they need
abuse.
someone to feed them.
Yeah,
That's how they stay alive, and it's not the person. I wanna make this clear. It's not the person that's the narcissist. It's the program that the person it's a hijack program. The real them is there, and that's where the empaths or the people like you, Ryan, who are you see the best in everyone. What you're actually seeing is their soul's essence. You're sensing that within them. You can see it sometimes come out.
yeah.
But then the hijack program takes over again, and then you're like, "Fuck."
Back to the
And
emotional whiplash.
exactly. So you have to view it as it's not for those who are like, I don't wanna hurt I don't wanna hurt them, like, I don't wanna be that person, but it's not them, it's the hijack.
And
They're not there.
by participating it, you're keeping that loop alive,
Absolutely.
and
It has to have a feeder, yeah.
you are hurting them. You're making their past traumas manifest over and over again. So in essence, you're trying to fix the problem by becoming, you've become the fucking problem. You've become their abuser. And,
Yep,
and that's just, even if you're not, in their mind, from their point of view, you are.
yep.
And there's
And they
nothing
believe
you
it.
can, yeah,
They
and
believe
there's
it
not a
100%. It's not
damn thing
yeah.
that you can do about it unless they see it. And unfortunately, the way everything in our society is created, it's built to protect those perceptions. It's built to isolate and have people attached to these identities of being broken, of being less than, of being damaged goods. And, not just that, but per- mm, what's the word? I'm perpetuating it.
Mhm.
It it wants that because it creates chaos, it creates dissonance, it creates disorder, like,
Yep. But,
and
like,
that's
think about
profitable.
what you were saying last episode, I think, is, these hijack programs can only attach to existing light. So, like, it needs a host, basically. Um, so
And
you
it
gotta
needs
spot it.
attention.
Yes. It needs your needs your attention, your effort, your intention, like, all of it. It and that's why they'll do whatever it takes to get your attention. And you can view it as a demon, you could view it as, like, a freaking whatever the hell you wanna see it as, but just know, like, that person's soul is there, and that's what you're linking to. So you're not wrong in what you're thinking about who this person truly is, but you gotta cut it at the source as far as, like, the parasite goes. Like, it can't feed off you anymore. That's the only way that's the only thing within your control to actually help this person, is to cut it off. That's how they could stand a chance at holding themselves accountable even a little bit. Um,
And
you're giving them an opportunity, but they'll probably find someone else to feed off of quick because
yeah, it's a
they
source.
can't sustain alone. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you saw, she's already dating some dude like right after you guys. She already married again right after you guys got your divorce. Like rolling right into the next. You see, it's just like, all right, got another
Hmm.
one. And then you get like drunk with this power almost.
And
Yeah.
I was terrified of relationships, and in many ways I still am, like, because of it. And I
Absolutely, because you got blindsided so many freaking times, you can't even trust your fucking instincts anymore.
exactly, and
Yeah.
it wasn't until like, okay, and back to I don't want this for my daughter. And honestly, like all the abuse that got put on me started to come through my daughter. You know, all that resentment on the other side, where, find the softest landing spot that's connected to me, and that's her.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've talked
Especially
about it.
because you cut it off, right? Like, you stopped
Yeah.
engaging, so now you gotta, like, try every single thing you can to get you back and get the attention back on the feed, the one that's trying to feed off of you. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I tried to let things be good. And, you know, finally it led, like, there were things that led to another modification attempt and another one. And I finally won the last one. And, I got sole custody. Because of my attorney's biggest point was that Reagan she was 6 at the time, but has already had 2 SANE exams, and she asked her mother if she would do it again, and all of these, like, nothing ever landed. There's no credible evidence. It's all hearsay. Would
Mhm.
she do it again? She said yes in a heartbeat. There's no
Yeah,
evidence of him
she's
being an
searching
abuser.
for,
Yeah,
um she like I said, she needs you to be guilty. She needs you to be the perpetrator no matter what,
and
even at the
that's
expense of Reagan.
that's eventually what won me custody. And,
Yeah.
like, the abuse just got worse from that point because it's a narcissistic injury. Like, you get
Yeah.
exposed and the abuse increases because there's a spiral. I lost, I got exposed, the
Yep.
mask
It's an
came
ego
off,
hit.
and, you know, she started getting abused more, harder, and it was more mental and emotional, like 3 rounds of sexual assault allegations against me, which is the most damning sort of allegations for a father. Like, and more often they'll happen against the father, obviously.
And then
Like,
every time she's getting interviewed, I imagine, by Child Protective Services, and which is whispering to her subconscious about you, and
mhm,
that gets ingrained.
it's parental alienation. And, you know, so, and this is kind of where we were talking the other day, because there have been 2 recent CPS reports, one filed by her school and one filed by me. And the most recent one, and this is like, the most recent one was filed by me, was the first one I've ever called in personally, like, the first ever. And it was because of the severity of what was going on. I wanted to make sure that everybody, the details were correct, because she's had therapists, like, one therapist has filed 4 CPS reports that went nowhere. Her school counselor filed.
In what regard? Like, is it like emotional? Like, what's their angle there of like why they're filing? Do you know?
So her therapist filed concerns of mental, emotional, physical, and sexual.
Wow.
um no, Bob. um
At the other house.
yeah, and those got dismissed. She filed 3 officially. She wanted to add some to the third, but CPS just said, we're not even going to investigate. We're closing the book. Like, Reagan's had,
Because it
eh,
keeps being
um,
just hearsay kind of
yeah,
thing.
but this is a therapist that has a duty
Right.
to report,
Right.
and um, Reagan's had SVU involved in her cases twice. Like, these are supposed to be the elite, like, the people that cut to it.
Mhm.
and all of the distortion that has been created in her sphere, um, nobody even cares to touch it. Like, no,
Yeah.
not one single true. And I've told them, like, why don't you take Reagan away from both of us and, cut into this deeply and then decide what's better? No, we're not going to do that.
Yep. Because
Like,
their goal is to, like, keep the kid with the family or whatever, and so it needs to be, like, so incredibly extreme that they don't have a choice but to, like, freaking like, the kid basically has to freaking have a needle in their arm or something
yeah.
to, like,
And,
be like, "Oh, okay, guess we'll take them now."
well, the biggest thing I ran into, oh, there's no official outcry. Okay. Then what's
So
the
you gotta be
definition
all
of it?
dramatic? Like, what the fuck does that
Yeah.
mean?
And, you know, in the definition of outcry has kept moving. Like, it's become a moving target. Like, oh
Wow.
no, that wasn't an outcry. It needs to be this. A couple months later, Reagan's saying that now. And I'm like, hello, like, look to what this person said here. She's saying it.
Yeah.
And y'all, well, that's not really an outcry. It's, oh my God.
What was the what was the moment to where you're like, "Okay, I gotta do something now." Like, this is beyond something that, like, I have a responsibility here to go outside of my little circle to, like, report, basically. Like, what what was, like, the catalyst for that for you? And obviously, it's kinda still ongoing, so you don't have to, like, drop into all the deets,
No,
but, like, something
I
that she
got
may have said or, like, experienced that you're picking up on?
I actually got the letter from CPS the other day that
Yeah.
said no findings. Um, but it wasn't even, and this is where I can't really get into it. She
Mhm.
wasn't I made the call to what I'm about to say, and she wasn't even considered the focus of the investigation. So
What,
a
mom
night
wasn't?
N
Or Reagan wasn't?
Reagan wasn't the focus. She wasn't considered a victim
Oh.
in at all. Um, so early February, we're getting ready. I'm getting her ready for bed, and when she gets tired is when her walls start coming down and
Mhm.
she feels comfortable. And
Yeah, a lot of kids actually do this when you're tucking them in.
yeah,
The stuff's on their mind, they'll start saying because they feel safe there and they wanna get it off their chest, before bed. It's really
and
common.
that's exactly what happened. It has gotten to the point where we just try not to talk about it, like, because all it does is lead to pain. We just try to enjoy the small things in life. But for whatever reason, she told me, I feel like I'm God. Oh no. Like, it was and I've gotten pretty good at masking my reactions and not being reactive.
Mhm.
Where's this conversation about to go?
Mhm.
Um, so she started getting into it. She said, Sometimes it feels like I'm outside of my body watching myself." And, you know, all of, from a psychological standpoint, it's dissociation.
Mhm.
If we want to, we're about part of our message here is spiritual awakening. And the correlation here with dissociation is trauma leading to early awakenings, or catalyst for your spiritual
Yeah.
awakening.
Yep.
You're tapped in to different things because the trauma
Mhm.
has been so bad, the nervous
Activated.
system is, can fire itself up to a point that most people aren't used to. And I know this from experience because I had it. So I let her talk, like, baby, explain. And she started listing off 4 or 5 very detailed in specific times where she dissociated to the point where she could watch herself talk, like
Yeah.
one was when she was around 2.5 years old. It was Easter when she was 2, the year before, right before all of that happened. And, the first swab. And she said she remembered finding an Easter egg and opening it up. As soon as it opened up, her consciousness went into the egg and she was looking at herself from the egg,
Wow.
like she had opened herself up.
Wow.
In another one, she was in a tree watching herself play, and I was there. It was at the park, and this was from last year. So it was the most recent one. But she told me there were times that it felt like somebody would come into her room, you know, in the middle of the night and take her good memories and replace them with bad ones. And she said it was weird because the only other person in her room was a sibling who was asleep, and she doesn't have any siblings that are here with me. I'll leave it at that. And you're a therapist. What's the threshold for that type of dissociation? Like, what has to happen usually for our minds to, and I don't like to use the word fracture, but
Well, it's something. Okay, you could think about it almost like multiple personalities in a sense, or s- an alter, you can call it, like, will take over the body. It'll kind of go into like an automatic program. That's what it is. And the consciousness, the soul itself, will exit. And when the soul exits the body, it can go wherever it wants. But if you don't realize you've exited and you're just like looking down, you're like, what is happening? You can get very confused. But basically, the threshold for that, like, at least initially, because after that, it could just be spontaneous, right? But initially, it's something that's so incredibly overwhelming to the system. It can't fathom, and it has to protect the identity of the person, the the anchored identity, the I forgot the term for it. It's the other than the altar. I don't treat DID. Um, but basically, it's their wholeness of who they are. I say the soul, the spirit will exit out to preserve. But the body remembers. The body's still going to take the hits. But when you come back in, you're preserved. You're safe. And this is what may mean it spiritually is like nothing can ever touch the soul.
yeah,
The
it's a
soul will never
natural defense
split.
mechanism.
Absolutely. And so I've also seen like in near death experiences that you will leave your body as well right before it happens. Yeah. Right before the crash, right before the final moment when you know it's like the end or for whatever there could be like parallel realities happening. I don't really know, but like depending on the situation, but you will float out. And then I've also floated out of my body to understand what it is like to see like yourself in another experiencing yourself in a different way, but it feels the same. That's the thing. It feels just as real as being in your physical body. Um so yeah, in a
Yeah,
nutshell, it would take extreme trauma or extreme confusion, overwhelm, system overwhelm to not be able to um take that take that trauma in to remember it.
and I don't know how much time you have tonight, but you know, from my perspective, and this is kind of what, and it feels like an appropriate time to kind of cut into. I didn't understand why my health was getting progressively worse the past year until I understood what a sympathetic response truly was. And, you can have a sympathetic response to your child's distress, and that distress, because I'm not being directly abused. I don't understand
Well,
why
I want to point out too, just I don't mean to like psychoanalyze you. It's all I can't help it. But I'm trying to help others by like using
yeah.
this story.
And
Just as go ahead.
I was going to say it, I've done plenty of
Yeah, I
self
can tell.
yeah.
I
And
can tell you're very healed.
I, I'm saying this from a point of me learning, you know, I understand it now, but there's a catalyst, a moment where it finally stuck, and that happened this last October, or, recently, but the main event to where my body couldn't take it anymore was this past October. And I think that's when what happened to her that caused it, this recent bout of dissociation in her. I'm pretty sure that's when it happened. But it
Oh,
took her until February to finally be confident
yeah.
enough to start letting, little
Yeah.
details out.
Because you can feel it. I mean, you're a super empath. You're a freaking feeler, Ryan. You're going to feel the distress within her without really knowing why, and you're not going to be able to put your finger on it. No different than your ex. Like, you're so tapped in and you don't know how to like connect dots logically. And you're just going strictly off of intuition, which your intuition's been fried and has left you in the dust, or at least you thought it was your intuition, but it was not. It was a program running, and you were confused essentially about what your intuition was actually saying, because your intuition's very quiet and it won't lead you astray. Um, but either way, um, before we go into that, and I have time. It's fine. Um, if you want to go into it, but before we go into that, I want to point out something huge. Um, How I'm saying that her mom could be projecting her traumas onto Reagan. Like, let's say, and I don't really know, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that something happened to her at 2.5, sexual abuse at 2.5. So then she would replay that out with her daughter. Like, that conviction, like, convinced that this happened. Because this could be something that happened to her at 2.5 and she dissociated from her body, but her body remembers it. And it's like, this is a situation where it can be superimposed. So the subconscious is going to take that opportunity to get her to feel that again, that, pain. And so she can actually turn to look at herself and be like, I have a little 2.5-year-old inner child that needs me. But that doesn't happen
Absolutely.
because we're not taught how to do that shit. So, like, we're not going to think about that in these moments. You're going to take it literally in your mind. This is happening to my daughter. Instead of, could this be an invitation for something that actually happened to me? Especially when the evidence isn't there. And so, and this is where the accountability piece comes in, and where you need to like really fucking think before you put your kids in situations that you're 100% convinced of, but there's no true evidence. Is like that pause basically of like, hold on, something to be explored. So just as much as she's projecting onto Reagan, you are as well, is what it
Hmm.
seems. And I just want to like throw this in there as a possibility. Um, I'm stating it as a fact, but take this loosely. The same helplessness or powerlessness Reagan is that situation she's in is exactly where you were at too, in that
Oh, yeah.
same cycle, that same loop. So now, because but you're breaking it now. You're seeing it differently now, and you're
Hmm.
responding differently now. So it is going to be chipping away at that projection. You're going to start recognizing, okay, Reagan's her own individual person. She's not me. She's going to have her own responses. She's going to have her own needs that are specific to her. But then we all have human basic needs, right? And so exactly what you did is you just held the space and you let her like express what she like experienced without you trying to correct it or like project like your shit onto it. You're just like, here, tell me more. Help me understand. What's that about? Like, and you weren't like, who's in your room? Tell me their names. Like, because you're scared, you know? You're just like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Tell me more. What's that?
Yeah,
Interesting.
and your children feed
Beautiful.
off of your energy,
Yeah.
like, so if you respond in a anxious, you know, nervous, angry way, that's going to be projected on them too, and,
Yeah.
this
You can
is
tell you feel.
yeah, and it's taken a lot of work, and I had never really had an experience with dissociating. And, you mentioned near death experience earlier, and I'm going to get into mine. Like, so as I said, I was super, more anxious and more stressed than I had ever been, considering all the things that we've talked about the past 2.5 hours, and nothing was happening directly to me. I had sole custody. I had just won. Why the actual hell are my symptoms worse now than they've ever been? Jumping ahead a little bit, they were Reagan's. She just wasn't verbally expressing them, so they weren't a reality for me. And I had never considered this before, and my health was getting worse. I was having to go to the hospital once, twice a month because of my blood pressure, which I've kind of talked about before. And, getting, I think the highest I've seen it clock was like 210, 211 over 170. And if you do your research, that is call an ambulance, you are actively dying, kind of territory. So every time I would have this feeling and it would build up so much, I would go to the hospital, except for one night. I was like, I've how many times am I going to have to do this? You know, I'm just going to ride this one out, and
And
you
did these
know,
happen when she wasn't there?
um, yeah, it's the yeah, and that didn't become blatantly obvious until you know I started reflecting back, and every single time. And I thought it was just me being angry because
Right.
when
I'm just anxious because she's not home. Right.
yeah, and that's what I would attribute it to. But this one night, I was restless, tried to go to sleep, restless. Then I need to do something to, with this energy, start a podcast. And I've told you this story, and now I'm
Yeah.
putting it out there for everybody. So, or no, she was with me this night. Um, but yeah, I couldn't, and I let her co-sleep because it's comfort, safety,
Mhm.
and she wanted safety. And I moved my entire computer setup into where I am now from my bedroom so I could talk talk to myself, basically recording for a couple hours, and my anxiety kept picking up and I could feel my heart. It was just m- my hands were numb, like felt like my heart was beating out of my chest, and I just kept going. I was like, I'm gonna lean into this. Whatever happens, happens. If my heart pops, it pops. Like, let's go. And, you know, all this such random stuff happening. Bob would jump up on my lap and dig his claws into my leg. And, I just kept pushing through, and I was fighting with the damn cords, trying to get the camera and the microphone right. And I was so anxious, and my arthritis was so bad that,
So you're
like,
trying to do a podcast for the first time, like while this is happening?
Yeah,
Oh, shit. So you're getting this download,
yeah,
like,
and
in
I
this
thought
peak state. Wow.
because the anxious energy, like,
Right.
that led maybe if I get this out, like, it'll release, like,
Oh, yeah, that's fair, yeah.
you know, um, so I'm going and it just keeps getting worse, like, I'm mumbling and stumbling, like, I can't put thoughts together, and the anxiety's building, my blood pressure's getting worse, like, my face is bleeding, like, um, and I'm just pushing through, and I finally jump in a like, I was like, "Man, I gotta take a bath, I gotta try to cool this down," but it wasn't cooling down. I started pacing around my apartment, and then things started slowing down and getting a little dark, like, m I was getting more and more disoriented, and, you know, I closed my eyelids, and it was like a slow blink, and I'm separated from my body, and everything is calm, super calm, total in my mind before this, just racing thoughts and, you know, voices or, I say voices, but the thoughts were voices.
Mhm,
Like when and when there's so many, it sounds like they're coming or it feels like they're coming from every direction. They almost manifest in a very physical way when your mind is flying like this. And yeah, like I said, I it finally built to a crescendo where I close my eyes once and I'm in a different place. And it's it's not as dark as it was before, and I'm not scared. My anxiety is completely gone, and I could breathe. You know, like my chest wasn't constricted, I should say. Like all that tension in my back and my chest, and all the pain from my arthritis, and my face was gone. And like I didn't look back, you know, I I saw curtains in front of me. I saw red curtains with what's the word? The lighting, incandescent, you know. Um incandescent lighting, and the curtains were beautiful, and I there wasn't anybody around me, but it felt like there was, I didn't feel alone. And I'm a sucker for pretty things. And they weren't they weren't adorned or anything. They were very plain, but just well crafted. And I was like, I kind of want to check those out. What is that? And I just started walking towards them. And as I got closer, the lighting got brighter. Finally, I got up to them, and I kind of just stood there for a minute looking at them, looking at the lighting. And, the lights were, they were in like iron, beautifully well crafted iron, what do you call, fixtures.
mhm,
Um, and just the kind of stuff that I nerd out on. Like, oh, that guy really put in some thought. Like, and on the other side of the curtain, I didn't look, but I could feel, almost see through. It was just an knowing. It was, you know, a, a fountain area like you see in ancient Greece and stuff like that, with olive trees and, just beautiful. And it we kind of discussed this before, but it was what I would perceive heaven as. It
mhm,
was people just standing around talking about their experiences and like how they lived their lives and the mistakes they made. And there was no, there were some pretty controversial characters in there discussing, but they were being very honest and open about their mistakes and saying, hey, if I could have done it differently, this is what I would have done. And again, another thing that I nerd out on, like, I want that more than anything, like, just open and calm discourse. Like, we all make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. It's for us to really reflect and say, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
maybe I got these things wrong. Maybe I could have approached this differently, and here's a regret, and damn it, I should have
Yeah.
known better." Like, if I would have done this one thing differently, how might every, history
Yeah.
have been different? And there were historical figures, Napoleon, Hitler, like, then good, mixed with MLK and South Africa, Mandela, and Shakespeare was putting on a play that nobody had ever seen down here before. Like, and I was like, oh shit, I would really like to go see that play. Like, and just spend time talking to these people and getting as many perspectives on life as I possibly could. And I wanted it. mm, mm, That's my version. That's what I perceive heaven as. And it was right there. And I, there was an open invitation for me to go. And I felt a pull, and all I had to do was pull back the curtain and walk right in, and put my hand up and stop. Shit, there's 6 8 million 8 billion people back there, that there's so much going on that I didn't know, that we don't know, that it doesn't have to be this way. It should be the way it is on the other side of the curtain. We should all be able to talk. What's really getting in the way? Let's go try to sort that out. And I turned around and boom, I wake up in a pile of drool on, my living room floor. Like, as soon as I turn around, and I kind of just thought, for a while, I didn't think a whole lot of it, because you hear near death experiences, bright lights, pearly gates,
Mhm.
somebody's there to, welcome you and usher you in.
Yeah.
But how much of that has been projected on us to perceive? Like,
Yeah, and
that's,
it's they know too that your beliefs will shape your reality even after you die.
yeah.
They'll
And
project onto the scene, and if you expect that's what heaven is, or that I'm going to hell or whatever, that's what you're gonna experience when you cross, or when you know, your soul just floats out of your body is really what it is. Um, yeah, and the I've actually heard a few NDEs where they're greeted by, like, a crowd, like, a little group of their friends or whatever, like, "Oh my god, tell me how it was." And then they're like, get to share it all or whatever, because it's like a blink of an eye, the
mhm,
experience. Um, here in this life feels like a blink of an eye when you go, on the other side. Like, "That was wild," you know? No different than when we have dreams here. We're like, "That was a crazy ass dream." Um, yeah. Wow.
and I didn't view it as a near death until a couple months later, and when I was like, oh shit, maybe that. When you kind of break it down, when my blood pressure's getting over 210, I'm to a point where my
No,
face is.
you said on the podcast, it was our first episode, and I was like, "Well, did you die, Ryan?" Ha 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 ha
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't
ha.
in.
You're like,
And
"Wait a second, did I die?"
yeah, no, and it took, yeah, you saying that for me to really start unpacking it. Like, shit, there's every,
Yeah,
the only thing there that was missing was somebody to witness it. And
right.
that
So you
that
question
is,
yourself because it feels kinda like a dream.
yeah. But
Mhm.
the reality is, my blood pressure was high enough to kill a healthy person,
Yes.
and I wasn't healthy at that time. I woke up face down in my living room, on my
Yeah.
living room floor in a pool of drool, and, you
Yeah.
know, I was in bad shape for 2 or 3 days, just totally, completely spent it, and I had to drink so much water and, like, I could barely walk,
And
and
you probably got massive downloads because, like, and I know you're probably about to go into this about, like, healing, but, like, when people exit out like that, you're getting massive amounts of information that you're not gonna quite remember every little detail when you come back into your body, but your body will download the file for later. Um, and so it makes sense that you're fried out. You gotta drink tons of water, ground. Would you write your experience down?
this is yeah,
Nice.
me writing the night that was happening because all of those thoughts, like,
Yep.
I couldn't hold on to them, so I would be pacing around my, kitchen island,
Yeah.
and I had this open, and to make, sure that I caught them, I would write
Yeah.
down.
I wonder if your brain is dropping, releasing DMT as well.
Well, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
but that's the death drug. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
if
for sure.
if a if a tiger has you by the neck, your body's gonna release DMT, so
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt.
So it's like, "Oh, okay, this ain't so bad.
Yeah,
I'm just floating around out of my body."
like, here's one note. If you have to say please when asking for something, it was never intended for you, or,
Oh,
never
shit. That
intended
makes
for you to
sense.
have
It's not
from the
aligned.
start, you know?
Dude, those
If
are
you have
some gold nuggets there.
Yeah, if you have to beg for something, there's a reason they're making you beg. If you have to ask please, you shouldn't fucking want it. Like,
Yeah.
um, so you can ask for ask help plus receive equals good. Like, no please in there. If like somebody asks for help,
Yeah, because, I mean, think about this energetically. You're basically giving your power away. "Please."
yeah,
You're basically insinuating, "I don't that you get to control this outcome for me, and you get to determine if I'm worthy of it or not, if I've earned it or not. You determine that, not anyone else." And so we're even teaching our kids to do this shit, because it's ingrained in the program, in the
yeah.
systems.
And ask help plus please plus receive equals evil. And it's dominion of will. Like,
Mhm.
it's asserting dominion of somebody's will, like, over somebody's will to make them
Yeah.
beg.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And we
and
entrain children so early on, respect adults, like, respect teachers, the school, like, the systems.
mercy was one of the words that I wrote down. Like,
Mm.
I was asking for mercy in that moment. And, you know, because everything had gotten so heavy, and um plasma is alive and intelligent. Nietzsche, a person transforms 3 times. So just a bunch of stuff. Drop, the bunker, um it was wild. And
You know
the
what's
fact
great?
of the
Like, sorry. This so many people experience stuff like this, and it gets passed off as psychosis, and then they don't know how to orient, like, what the hell is happening. They don't know, like, where they're getting information from. They don't know how to ground it. They don't have any anchor points to these experiences, so then they're like, "I gotta go to a freaking psych ward. I don't know what the hell is happening."
and then they
Luckily for
get
you.
labeled.
Yep,
Yeah.
lucky for you, you're able to anchor this information in as something else. Um, and it really depends on how you're shaping this experience to whether or not, like, you're gonna come out the other side, like, um, with it embodied and you get to use it for good because what you're getting are downloads to use. it's like cheat codes essentially is what it is. Like
Yeah.
it's cutting through. It's like when you raise your consciousness like a little bit out of your body enough, like other entities, other whatever your
Mhm.
higher self, like whatever you however you want to see it, could be a bunch of different things. It's finally like, okay, we got access. Send it. Send them all the codes because so many things want to help us here, but they
Yeah.
were cut off for a reason. So until we have these points of like higher connection, and it's like, all right, let's just send it and hope they freaking figure it out. But we have to talk to each other to figure these things out to get the codes and make it make sense. But if
Yeah.
everyone's just like holding this information, like these poor kids that are experiencing this, and they're like, how am I looking at myself from inside of an egg? Like,
Exactly.
and the parents are like, what are you talking about? You're just making shit up.
Yeah.
Third eye
Keep that
closed,
shit to
done.
yourself.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and you close it for them,
Yeah.
and you don't even give them an
Yeah.
opportunity to explore when
Yeah.
they're
It's not
naturally
even third eye.
tapped
It's
in.
more crown, actually, because that's how
Yeah.
you're exiting. Yeah.
When they're more naturally tapped in, then, we have to be deliberate about it, or
Yes.
stress rev our bodies up to the point where we fall face floor, like what I did,
Mm-hmm.
which 10 out of 10 would not recommend. Like, like there are much better ways to leave your body than
Yeah, you could just lay in bed
revving.
and stay perfectly still for 3 hours
Yeah,
straight with noise canceling headphones and eye mask like what I did.
it's much more
Mine was much
calm.
more peaceful. I actually saw Jesus right before it happened. It was really weird because 'cause I'm, like, never
Not yeah.
Jesus was never, like, a something I ever really thought about. It was interesting as I saw, like, a very vivid flash of him on the cross, and it zoomed in on his the nails in his hands. Right before I exited my body. It was crazy, and I felt electricity in the top of my head, like,
Mhm.
hardcore, um, and then all of a sudden, I was in a
Yep.
portal, and I was like, "Where the fuck am I?" And it was so disorienting because I was, like, confused. I was like, "How am I out of my body? Like, is this a dream?" Like, I was I was fully conscious, and I was like, "Whoa." But then it was so easy to control my emotions too, it's so wild,
Mhm.
and you don't have all that noise of, like, all the voices and all that stuff. That's all the programming shit. That's your default mode network has gotten hijacked and has gone haywire. Um
Oh, and after that couple day, like, hangover that it felt
Yeah.
like, Melissa, when I tell you it felt like I was high for 3 straight days, I felt like I could run a fucking marathon. I could eat
Wow.
like a damn horse. Like, the flavor of everything and,
Dude,
like
you were reborn!
yeah, and, like, the flavors, like, I went so intense, so fucking intense, and, like,
Or
I
ooh, you know what? We got sorry, I'm, like,
yeah,
making connections. You got a new operating system
uh-huh,
to the
and
5D
b
experience.
because, the biggest parts of my download were build. You need to build. You need to create. You need to do you need to spread speak.
Mhm,
You need to
mhm,
come out of your shell. You need to build, and the Bible is sick. Heal the Bible.
mm.
I didn't know what the hell that meant. I'm just recently started to figure out, and we'll go into that another day. But from that point, I told my mom, I was told to tell my mom, and that didn't go great. Like, but she told one of her friends who's very religious, or spiritual, and from a Christian perspective, she got me my first real Bible, and it's beautiful. It's a Dake study Bible, King James version. I didn't ask for it. It just presented itself, and
Yep,
it's
that's how you know
um
it's For you, man.
Amazing. And
Yeah, fell in your
a
lap.
couple weeks later, another one, another beautiful, personalized 2, you know, gifts. I didn't, you know, and I started reading
Yeah,
and
this is where
I'm
you just
starting,
surrender. You're like, all right, I see where you're guiding me. Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
there's there's been progress in that, in a department I never thought there would be progress to. And I'm seeing I was never a religious person. I had never read the Bible, other than the children's version of it, like with
right.
pretty pictures and,
Yeah,
you know, David with his sling and, you know, Noah's Ark. And that was my expertise. Now, I'm having, a couple months later, having 2.5 hour Bible studies with my best friend who died a few weeks after. You know, like,
and
what
then
is
you
this?
even said you recorded those conversations
Yeah,
of his
I did.
interpretations.
Yeah. And I wasn't intending on it. Like, I was just talking as sort of a video diary, and he asked me what I was doing, and I had just gone to church with him basically for the first time that I went to church seriously with intent and purpose, you
Sure.
know. And the next day is when we jumped on this call, and I had hit record for my video journal, and I said, "Man, you can hop on and we can do Bible study." And it was through this program, like, it's still on here. And, you know, I didn't hit stop recording. And that was a month before he passed. And some of the stuff, like, he knew. He knew. He wasn't into the Bible. Like, we had just recently, like, in the past couple of months, both been drawn to the Bible this way. And he was a little further in it than me, obviously. He left his job, started working for the church, and, you know, devoting his life to Christianity and Jesus and the Bible. And I hadn't made it to that point yet. And I can't say I will ever commit to it in the way he did.
Mhm.
I can't make that promise, but I take it very, very seriously. And I think there is a very, very large message in there for people with eyes to see and ears to hear.
Yep,
I mean,
when they think for themselves.
yeah, and do
Yep.
it from a very non programmed way. Like, if you,
Yeah. You know what's really wild? I, when was this? Saturday night, I think? I go into my maybe it was, I don't remember, Thursday night? I don't know. I go into my son's room, he's playing video games, and, I see on his phone, it's like a bunch of words or whatever moving, so I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's just like, listening to the Bible, and I was like, "What?" And I was like he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, my friend goes to church and he said" I was talking about church and stuff, so I was, like, curious about, like, what it's all about. And so he's just listening to the freaking audiobook of the Bible randomly while he's playing video games, and I don't we're not religious, like, I've never read the Bible, um,
yeah.
and he was actually turned off from the Bible because my mom's, like, hardcore Catholic, like, pushes it hardcore,
Hmm.
like, a little too much kinda thing, and, so we actually just donated the children's Bible he had to his cousins because he was never gonna read it, and he said, "I don't want that," you know? And now he's just,
Yeah.
like, listening to it on his own, and this is the stuff kids will get downloads.
Yeah.
Kids will get these random nudges, and this is for a reason, and it's not to be interfered with, in my opinion. It's
No.
to be like, "Oh, wow." It's to be, like, almost, like, encouraged, and so what I told him was like, "Dude, that's freaking awesome." Like,
Hmm.
"That's really cool. You're freaking 13 years old." Like,
And you're
Like,
looking
what
for
the
something.
crap? Yeah, and I was like, the only word of advice I have for you with this is interpret it in the way you want to, in the way that speaks to you. Don't let people tell you what this means to you. That's all I can say about it. Um,
It's beautiful advice. Like, because I didn't have any, like, I had stripped away all of my preconceived notions by the time I went into it. And like, I wasn't
yeah, because you had
complete.
the, like, the guidance of, like, the Bible is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at first it was so abstract and like, okay, how, what the
Yeah. What do
am
you
I
mean?
supposed to do with that information? Like,
Yeah.
like little old me, like,
Yeah.
and when you start parsing it out, it's okay, explore it. And, if you don't explore it, it's going to keep calling you, like we talked about last week. You're going, it's going to keep smacking you over the head until you do, or you totally release it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, "I'm not doing that." It's
and
because you
you,
do have choice, you do have free will to deny these things if you want, but, it's interesting because I have also gotten, like, the itch to read it. It's not
mhm,
like there's obviously something here, and I've just seen so many different perspectives, and, like, someone once said it's the journey of the nervous system, the different
yeah,
places they're traveling, it's the different parts of the
it
nervous
is.
system, and it's leading you to, awakening, basically, like, enlightenment, and sovereignty. And then I've just been hearing different types of versions, but it's all like saying the same thing. And so
Hmm.
I'm like, well, I don't need to read it then because I already know what it means. But I'm like, when it's time, it'll be it'll be like my son's experience of like, there's no stopping it. It's just
Yeah, when it's
I just
time, it'll
want to.
come to you.
I just want to.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be like it just feels right. I don't know. I just want to do it. It
like,
shouldn't feel like you should have to or like,
no.
that kind of thing.
And if you do that and you feel forced to, you're going into it with pre-programming.
There's probably some shame around the intentions there, or like
Yeah, so you're
why you're
going to
pursuing.
attach to bad, you're going to put your projection on things and attach poorly.
Yep. And then that gives a perfect anchor point or anchor for other stuff to flood in to get hijacked. Because it's like when you have one fracture in the system, it's like got them, we're in. And
Mhm.
it'll open the floodgates for more if you keep entertaining the negative or the kinda like that comment that we got today on our
Yeah,
TikTok about the Bible, like, about, like, and I don't know if you just wanna, like, recap that, Ryan, and, like, your interpretation of what he meant. Old Chad. Was his name Chad?
Chuck,
Chuck. There we go. Chuck.
Chuckaroo, Chuck,
Chuckaroo.
aka James, which
You
I
know,
don't.
we're here for it. We're here for it,
Yeah,
Chuck.
and this isn't a condemnation of him or anything as
No, it's
such,
just a
but
perfect example, though.
he was his point was that we were basically shysters, that we're, in this for the money, which, you know,
I ain't making no money off this shit.
goose eggs.
I
We've
mean, it'd be
actually,
nice.
yeah, we've dedicated, we're 3 hours in right now, and we found each other because we both got callings, and we don't know what this is. We are going to charge y'all at some time for
Yeah,
stuff,
like, maybe,
so
like, a
be
little tiny
prepared.
baby subscription or something as we
Yeah,
get deeper,
but
yeah, because it's an energetic exchange.
and we're going to be pulled by the algorithm at some point due to the stuff that we're talking about. And, y'all are going to have to find us, and we're going to have to put up some sort of paywall for this information, because it's like HBO. You can't see tits and dick, without paying
Ryan, there's
$17 a.
children.
Sorry.
No, we learned about how people are, watching this with their family, and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
oh, crap." Like, a few people said this. We're like, "Oh, shit. Maybe I should" eh. But then I'm like, "No,
Breasts,
no, no, gotta be
breasts
authentic."
and fire hoses. Chi-chis.
The
Um,
kids are gonna be like,
but,
"We love ya."
you know, and that's the sort of thing we're not gatekeepers for
Yeah,
information, and we're going to give you many different perspectives because all roads lead to proverbial Rome in this point. The Bible, like Melissa just stated, is a path to awakening, which was Chuck's argument, and it is most certainly. But he was coming with bad information. He didn't know my position on the Bible, how much I respect everything that's in it, but at the same time they're also missing 21 or 20 or so books that didn't make it into the Christianity canon. Like, that's gatekeeping, and they're really good books, like the Pistis Sophia, the books of Thomas, the book of Enoch, like all of these alternative ones that were a part of the original teachings that got removed by gatekeepers
yeah.
because
'Cause
the
remember,
information was too dangerous.
the narcissistic system can only attach to existing light, and from there, it can start feeding. Like, "Alright, now we can work with something.
And
Where's the fracture?"
repurpose information and add, like, oh, but we'll add this after the fact because of this one guy that said he had, but he also had a thorn in his side. What the hell was that thorn? I'll let y'all do the math there. uh, that wasn't put there by that guy.
How do you know it's a guy?
There's a talk to Mel Gibson about that one.
Who's
He makes a
Sophia?
no, no, no. So
Just kidding.
Sophia is it's Lilith.
See, I obviously
But
don't know any of this shit, so
um
I'll read it
but
eventually, guys.
the whore of Babylon is in many circles considered to be the most accurate representation of the devil in the Bible, like personified, the whore of Babylon. But again, the Bible is all how you want to frame it. You know it gives you different stories, so many different stories, so you can see yourself in them and take it from there. Use it as a guide from that entry point to start working left or right in your path to awakening, to coming to source and creator energy. It's not a one size fits all. That doesn't make any sense when we are all different fractals experiencing consciousness. Like,
Mhm. It has to
we,
be diverse,
yeah,
or we don't
and
exist.
bingo. And
Yeah,
it defeats the whole purpose of experiencing life. Like, it's
yeah.
supposed to be devastating. It's supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be all of these things. Why
Yeah.
try to make it anything it isn't and
Well, you have to
repackage it?
experience the freaking devastation to appreciate the beautiful,
Yeah. And
like, fully.
some sometimes you have to die to turn around and eat a lemon and have it knock your socks off. Like, whoa. Like, I tell you, Melissa, it was fucking amazing. Like,
Dude, I
just
can't wait, man. Well, it's not that I can't
uh
wait to die, it's just I can't wait to get, my system upgrade.
yeah. And
Um, if I haven't
yeah,
already experienced it,
like,
but I imagine it wouldn't be so subtle. But, like,
what
what you
did
didn't touch on yet was, and then we'll kinda close it out soon. What time is it?
yes.
12:30 midnight. What you didn't touch on yet was how you healed after this experience.
I started following everything, if I thought something was, before I would dismiss, I started following everything. I started not ignoring the signs. I started running toward, okay, if I get a thought, I'm going to follow this to the
Yeah.
extreme. And I started building and creating, and that led me to create the stuff with trauma, like the
Yeah.
tiara, my first algorithm that showed me, okay, here's all these vitamin, that research on autoimmune disorders led me to figure out here's all these things that aren't told to you by big pharma and rheumatologists and all these
Mhm.
gatekeepers that can start mitigating these symptoms, and light therapy and you know frequency therapy and all of this, and breath work and somatic experiencing and grounding and talking to you, internal family systems, and all of these things just to bring everything back into coherence and alignment. And once I started doing that, I still have issues. Like I had
Yeah, you got your
two two
sensitivity.
two of my favorite people in this world died within 10 days of each other. And that's fucking damn hard. But I I've had quiet days, as one should. I've let myself feel, truly feel, instead of bottling up and just burying things. I'm I'm seeing the beauty. Like my best friend found his passion just before he died, and I've never seen him attached to something like this and embody something so deeply and have just a fervor to follow Jesus. And he did
Yeah.
that right before he passed. So
I've
I
like
know
my whole right side and like this, it's like a nice press on me, and I'm like, is that him? Because this is
he's a
my
big
I tend to
yeah.
visit. I tend to get visitors on the right side of me.
And he
So if it is, he says hi. I don't know.
yeah. And it put me into contact with his other best friend that we were all in the same high school group, and now him and I are closer than we've been in since we left high school. And we talk about, like, he called, we had both had a falling out with him where we didn't talk to him for like 2 years, and on November 8th or 14th he reached out to both of us the same day, and open dialogue, and we went back and checked all of this, like, holy shit, Matt knew this was coming. And you know put putting everything together, but it's dialogue, it's talking. Like what I perceived heaven to be was people with open minds sharing their experiences,
Mhm.
coming to a very logical conclusion based off of two very independent experiences, tying them together to say, "Oh shit, this was no coincidence." Like, and the songs that my our other buddy, him and Matt would talk about music a lot. And the last song he sent him, oh, it tore like, he sent it to me, and we're both like, yeah, he knew. And my buddy just wrote a song for him, for Matt, that says, like, "Hey, you're home now, dude." Like, in much prettier words than I can express, but that's basically the sentiment. You
Yeah.
were hurting here, now you're home. Now your pain is gone. This is where you saw yourself and you made it.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and we shouldn't shit on other people's experiences just because we don't understand it, or that we haven't experienced it ourselves. Everything, you know, there are, and do you put like, when you get to a certain point, you have no need to front. You have no need for the mask anymore. Like, and you operate from a certain frequency, and other people will naturally tap into that frequency, and those are your
Yeah.
people. And
And it takes
everybody
so
has
much
the
courage
ability to.
to do that. Like the process of that is just courage. It's like my husband and I were just talking about this today. It's like as you evolve, your challenges get more difficult, the fears that you have to face. And you can view them as tests, but I view them as like threshold marks of like what you're about to gain access to. You've got to pass this like energetic threshold. to be able to hold what you're about to access. And these tests or the experiences are going to be related to your greatest fears and facing them. So, like, Ryan, for you, it's like, oh, I got to talk about my fucking life to the whole world.
Yeah, and
I'm an introvert. What?
I finally did it. Like,
Yeah. How's it
that
feel?
is it feels good, but if you notice, like, my face from today's
Yeah.
conversation, like, it's red, and
Yeah.
but I'll be,
Because it's
like,
important.
yeah, and
Yeah. This
it's
matters.
not going to land anymore. It's like
Yeah.
because I know after we get off this call, I'm gonna go ground, I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna release all of this, and people might talk shit. Let them.
Yeah,
And
because we're at a point now where we understand. When you're up on the rungs of the ladder, you're up higher than others, you can see down and you can see all of the people like down there which rung they're on, how far they have come. And so that's kind of what it's like when people hate or like have opposing opinions. You can actually grasp their angle because you've been there already.
mhm,
And so you don't feel a need to I mean, we were talking about this today with old Chuck. We're like, yeah, our initial instinct is our past programming. I'm like, I just want to fucking punch him in the face. But just kidding.
hey, as long as you
It
said
wasn't.
it.
It wasn't that serious.
No,
I wanted to be like, bro, how do you know we're getting paid? Like, how do you know if I'm making any money off this? Are you kidding me? That was my initial instinct, but then I was like, "Nah, I don't really care about responding. It doesn't even freaking matter. It's not like I'm gonna convince him anyway." It's like you already
no,
know the end game and you get a choice now. You get to make an informed decision. Do I wanna respond with this, like, impulsive thing? It might feel good in the moment, it's cathartic or whatever, or you can just not respond. So, I chose the third option of like, "Hey, Ryan, this just happened, like, seems like a good opening for you, but I don't really care either way. Up to you if you wanna take it," to
and
comment
I had
back.
already taken it.
We were already there. Oh, that's so funny.
But I did it in a very like,
Yeah.
you know, I asked his experience.
Yeah,
"What
you
are
asked a
your
question
favorite?"
first, but it was
Yeah,
loaded.
a and, you know but my whole point was it with it was what I just covered, be open. Like,
Yeah.
there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, so, Bob
Oh,
doesn't
no,
hear.
don't
I
tell
would
Bob that.
never. That's why,
No, you're the kitty saver.
earmuffs, Bob. But the whole point is for us to come together and speak with open discourse and no
Yeah,
judgment, and
share your stories.
and you know problem presents itself, let's find a functional solution instead of being so linear has
Yeah,
led us into a very compromising position as a society today. So it's our job as a collective to circle back and start correcting that. And that's what Melissa and I are trying to do. And we invite open discourse. We invite conversation because we don't have all the answers, but we can get there as a collective because there are 6 billion
mhm,
people experiencing this life and that can look at it from every angle. You want
yeah,
heaven on earth. That is how we get there.
and as a final note too, is that's a beautiful closing. We could've just freaking ended it right there, but of course I gotta I can't I can't go without the thought being released.
Release it, Melissa.
Um, the one of the most important things I've ever heard, and it really, really resonated with me, was every single thing that you need to know is in your life story. It's never gonna be outside of you. Every single experience you've ever had is what you're searching for. The key is there. You don't ever have to read it from a book. You don't have to freaking Google it. It'll be in your history. Almost like Ryan's describing about reading the Bible, how you can see yourself in it. You almost have to read your own story as your own Bible, um, and it'll lead you and guide you exactly where you need to go. And Well, honestly, we share a lot of, like, random shit that we've, like, learned along the way as far as, like, things we've researched or, concluded from certain things, but honestly, everything that we really need to be sharing is our story, our experiences, because that is the discourse you're talking about, Ryan, of, like, what they were doing in your heaven. Um, it's like, "This is what I experienced. This was my life."
Yeah.
That's all we need to do. We don't need to share more fucking science knowledge. Like, ultimately, like, it's like,
No.
let's just get down to like, hey, guess what? We're all humans and we all have the same desires ultimately, and we all have the same insecurities and the same needs and wants. And it's just us misunderstanding each other and projecting is what creates these problems. It's so simple, but we make it so hard. um, at the same time. So we'll kind of leave it there unless you want to add one more thing.
No.
Yeah.
Open
You don't
invitation.
got the itch.
Nope. I can
Nice.
let that. Yeah,
Yeah.
this all needs to breathe, and
Beautiful.
that that can be my final note on the thing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story so vulnerably and answering all my really personal questions.
Oh,
um, yeah.
happy to. And, we didn't get into all of it, but everybody has the gist of it now, and we can more will come out as we talk in other episodes and be looked at from different perspectives,
Yeah.
you know.
And if you know someone that can really benefit from hearing Ryan's story, like someone who's maybe silently struggling that doesn't have the words for what they're experiencing because they're in the thick of it, like what he was talking about, how you're caught so deep in the cycle, um, share it with them. You never know, it might spark
Yeah,
something. It
and
might spark that like awakening in them to zoom out a
and
little bit.
you know, especially coming from the veteran community, like I know the veteran, it's coming at you from a lot of angles, and it's a part of the veteran unspoken. It is spoken, but reach out if things are hard to the point where you this life isn't where you want to be. Reach out, like send if you're experiencing some of the stuff that I've gone through and you need somebody to talk to, send a DM. Like, you don't have to do it in the comments. Come to us privately and Melissa will shoot you my way. Or, however,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
especially with this, I can speak to, and I'm not going to pass judgment. I'm not share it all. Like, sometimes that's all you need is a receptive ear and to understand you're not alone. So that should be normalized too. And I'm here. Melissa's here. Like, we're
Hmm.
trying to build a community of open expression.